Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am super excited for today's video. I was kind of like going back through my YouTube and just trying to get like re-inspired or maybe like get some ideas for content, which if you guys have content you'd like to see from me, I am trying to film as many days as I possibly can between now and the end of the year. So let me know what kind of content you want to see. You guys always have the best ideas. But as I was going through, I was like, okay, I think it would be fun. I just put together like a mashup of every eyeshadow palette declutter I've ever done on my channel, and I thought it might be fun to like mash up every makeup empty that I have shared with you guys on my channel. So every year-end makeup empty I have for you guys today. It's gonna be a long video for those of you who like to just like have YouTube on in the background. This video is for you, and in the spirit of the underconsumption trend, I wanted to share with you all of the under-consuming I have done throughout the years. So that is what today's video is going to be. I believe I've been tracking my makeup empties, I think since 2018. I'm actually filming this intro before I've like re-downloaded every year-end makeup empty, so I could be wrong. I've been tracking for quite a while, and I feel like I usually have quite a few empties at the end of the year. I think this might be my low, this year in 2024 might be my lowest makeup empties in quite some time. So we'll talk about that later. But if you guys want to see every makeup empty I have used up since the birth of this channel, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a year of makeup empties, all of the makeup that I used up in 2018. And I actually started like tracking this or like keeping all of my makeup empties in about March or April. So there's a few that I missed out on. I know specifically like there's a couple of like makeup mists that I had finished up. Outside of that, I can't really remember the first few months, but nevertheless, the amount of makeup that I used up from like March or April to the end of the year had a value of over $1,000. So I'm really happy that I was able to get some use out of my makeup collection rather than just letting it sit there and look pretty. And I'm really excited to do this kind of project, if you will, again next year and see if I can use up even more next year. So if you guys are interested in seeing all of the makeup that I used up in 2018, as well as hearing like the value, the amount of like primers I went through, and how much like money worth of primers I used up, then just keep watching. Alright guys, so behind me on my desk I have all of the makeup that I used up in 2018. Again, I started tracking my progress around like March or April, so not quite the whole year, but we're gonna pretend it's the whole year. And I've added everything up, the value of each product, and I have a total amount that I used up that I'll let you guys know at the end. But we're just going to jump in and go category by category and talk about how many of each category I used up, what the value was, etc, etc. Okay, so starting with primers, I used up 5 different primers last year, and surprisingly most of these are minis. I found that to be really interesting. I have, well, 2 are minis and 3 are full size, excuse me. But let's jump into the minis first. First, I have the Farsali Unicorn Essence, which I'm considering to be a primer because I know that's how a lot of people use it. It can also be used as a serum, like serum slash primer. This again is just the mini guys, so this is worth $20. This was okay in my opinion. I may repurchase this, may not. We'll see about this. Then I also finished off the Smashbox Mini Photo Finish Primerizer, which I really loved. This retails for $15. This is one of my favorite primers, and I'm definitely going to be repurchasing this. And then the other 3 full-size primers, I finished off the Ren Perfect Canvas. This is like kind of like a finishing serum as well as a primer, and I liked this. It just wasn't like a love for me. I just have other primers that I prefer over this, but again, if you like a serum slash primer, I would recommend checking this out. I believe Ren Skincare is all certified clean beauty at Sephora, so definitely a cool brand to check out. I recently finished off the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy Face Primer. This was not a favorite. This retails for $4.99, so definitely a cheaper primer. Super luminous, like really artificial looking. Not one that I'm going to repurchase, but glad that I was able to give it a try. And then finally I finished off the First Aid Beauty Coconut Skin Smoothie Priming Moisturizer. I love this primer. It's probably my top, or one of my top, for sure one of my top primers. I definitely plan to repurchase this, but I'm trying to be better about not having so much of each category in my collection at a time, so I'm trying to finish off a couple other primers before I repurchase. But really like this. This was $28, so that means for 5 primers I used a total of $112.99 worth of primer this year, and I'm really excited. I've already got 2 going in, or 2 planned to go in my 19 and 2019 project pan, so definitely looking to finish off some more primer next year. Okay, jumping into foundation, I actually finished off 12 foundations last year. I think part of it is because I was really close to finishing some of them off at the beginning of the year. And I definitely have some that are pretty close to being finished off too, but let's just jump in. First, I have the Urban Decay Naked Skin One and Done. This was my 2nd or 3rd bottle of this, and I used to really like this, but not the biggest fan of this anymore. So I don't know that this is one that this is definitely not one I'm gonna immediately repurchase. I'd rather find a lighter coverage foundation that I like better than I do this one right now. And this one retails for, I think, $34. This year I also finished off my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. I'm sure you all know this is a super expensive foundation at $64. This was not a foundation that I super loved. I definitely bought into the hype of this, and that's why I purchased this. So I kind of like made myself finish this because it was so expensive. Not one I'd recommend, not one I'm personally going to repurchase. I know a lot of people love this, just not a personal favorite of mine. Finished off 2 of the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Hydrating Gel Creams. These, again, I used to really like, not like the biggest fan of anymore, but I want to try these again. I feel like mine had started to go bad, which might have been the reason that I started to not love these so much. Definitely want to give these another try this year and see if I still like it, but not going to immediately run out and repurchase. These retail for $30 a piece. I also finished off a Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I really love this foundation. I have another one of these going in my collection right now, and it's actually the foundation I am wearing today. It's a really great foundation, one that I love, and I think I'll continue to repurchase over and over and over again just because I really love the finish that it gives. I like the coverage, just a really great solid foundation. And this one retails for $39. The last 2 high-end foundations I had finished up was the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation, which retails for $43. Used to really love this, but towards the end of this I was really forcing myself to just finish this off, not one I plan to repurchase. And then I also finished off the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Wear Foundation. I do plan to repurchase this one. I really like the way that this one lasts on the skin as well as the finish. But I'm just trying to work through some of my other foundations before I repurchase this. I love to wear this one in the summertime, so I can see myself probably picking another one up during the spring and summer, and I believe this one retails for $36. And then I have 4 drugstore foundations I finished off. The first is the L'Oreal Lumi Cushion Foundation. This retails for $16.99. I already have another one of these going in my collection. I really love this foundation for the summertime just because it is lighter weight, and these are really easy to travel with. And then if you need to touch up, it's super easy to touch your foundation up with this. So love that for that purpose. One of my favorite foundations of all time is the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation, and I also have 2 more of these in my collection. One I just recently started using, and the other one I'm almost out of 2, so I almost had 2 of these as empties for the year. And then I pulled this one back out for a project pan this year. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation. I ended up really liking this and purchasing another one after I finished this off. So I do have another one of these in my collection. This one retails for $7.99, and pretty much one of my favorite foundations ever, the L'Oreal Pro Glow. I've also recently fallen in love with the Pro Matte. This one retails for $12.99. I have 2 more of these in my collection, plus I have 2 of the Pro Mattes in my collection right now. So overall, I just really like the L'Oreal Infallible foundations. I really think you can't go wrong with a lot of drugstore foundations. I don't feel like foundation is, I mean, yes, you can splurge and you might get a longer lasting foundation, but I do feel like the drugstore offers quite a few really solid options for foundation, which is amazing. A lot of my favorite foundations are actually drugstore rather than high-end, so just thought I'd throw that out there. So like I said, I used up 11 foundations this year for a grand total of $325.96. A large chunk of that came from that Giorgio Armani foundation. So I'm curious to see next year how much my total value of foundation is going to be, especially as I find myself reaching more and more for drugstore foundations. So that is going to be an interesting one. I only finished off 1 powder this year, and it was a loose powder. It was the Sonia Kashuk Brightening Powder, and you actually can't get this anymore. I picked this up at Target. It retailed for $12.99, and it's such a bummer you can't get this anymore because this is my favorite under eye setting powder of all time. It is so good, but You can't get it anymore. I finished off 6 sprays this year, finishing sprays. 2 of them are the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray, one of my all-time favorite setting sprays. It really truly does increase the longevity of wear for your foundation or for your overall makeup in general. Love this. Will definitely repurchase. Those retail for $32 a piece. I also finished off an Urban Decay Chill Setting Spray, which I'm not sure you can get anymore, but I also really do enjoy this setting spray more for just like lighter coverage makeup days when I'm looking for like just a burst of hydration after I do my makeup. Again, this retailed for $32. I also finished off a Pixie Glow Mist. This retails for $15. I already have another one of these in my collection. This one you have to be careful with because you can end up looking a little bit too glowy in my opinion, but this is really nice if you're looking for like a Tatcha Dewy Skin Mist dupe and you're looking for something that's really going to make your skin look super dewy. This is a really good option. I don't know if I said already, but I do already have another one of these in my collection. I also finished off the Philosophy Renewed Hope in a Jar. This is just like a hydrating mist. Sometimes I would use this just like in the middle of my makeup routine just to like really set my powders in. This retails for $30. Definitely won't repurchase this. It smelled really nice, but just not a necessity or not one that I loved so much that I feel the need to go get it again. And then also the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. This retails for $15. I liked this. I don't love it the way everyone else does. I feel like I prefer the Ofra Makeup Fixer Mist to this, and I feel like you get more in that one, but not a bad setting spray. Like I would consider repurchasing this, but just not like super in love like everyone else seems to be. So I finished off a total of 6 sprays for a total of $156. On to concealer. I finished off 5 different concealers. The first was the Maybelline Instant Rewind. This retails for $9.99. I didn't have much of this going into 2018, so this wasn't hard to finish. It's been a while since I've used this. I really kind of want to pick another one of these up because I did really like this, or I remember really liking this. But I have other concealers in my collection I want to get through before I do that. I also finished off my Becca Secret Under Eye Brightening Color Corrector, whatever they call this. This is like my 3rd one of these. I love this. I'm definitely going to be picking up another one of these. These retail for $32, which is a little bit pricey, but it's so emollient and so hydrating and just perfect for brightening underneath the eyes. I love this and I feel like I will forever repurchase this. I have never found a brightening concealer that I like better than this for brightening underneath eyes. This is phenomenal. It took me forever, but I also finished off the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Aqua Sealer. I didn't really care for this much, but boy was I determined to finish this. I have this going in a project pan. Yes, I did. So that was like really encouraging me to use this. I definitely will not repurchase this. I found that it really irritates underneath my eyes if I use this pretty consistently. Sometimes it feels like it almost like is burning underneath my eyes, which is not a good situation. So wouldn't recommend, won't repurchase. But this retails for $26. This one also took me forever. This is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. This is the Naturally Radiant one. This was okay. Not my favorite, not my least favorite. Won't repurchase. There's definitely concealers that I prefer over this one, but this lasted me a super long time. Like we're talking like 7 or 8 months. So you definitely get your money's worth out of this one. I think this one is $28. But again, it lasts forever. So this was well worth the money, just not one that I loved enough to repurchase. And then finally, I also finished off a Naked Skin Weightless Complete Concealer. I also own another one of these. I've since purchasing the other one that I have in my collection, I've come to find other concealers that I prefer over this one. This used to be an all-time favorite of mine. So I think once I finish this next one, then I'll kind of be done with the Naked Skin concealer. But not a bad concealer, just have found ones that I prefer over this one. And I think this one retails for $29. As far as like eyeshadow primers or eyes or like eyeshadow or anything like that is concerned, the only thing I really finished up this year was my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. This retails for $22. I forgot to mention, you guys, if I was just decluttering an item, I didn't obviously include that in my empties. Like this is like empties, like stuff that I've actually like completely used up and gotten like the actual value out of. But I finished off my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. This had been in my collection way too long. We're talking like probably like 4 to 5 years. So well past expiration. I'm glad I was able to finish it. I personally just prefer to use like whatever concealer I'm using underneath my eyes to like use on my eyelids as an eyeshadow primer, maybe I would have better luck with my eyeshadow in general if I used an actual eyeshadow primer, but for me, I don't think I will be repurchasing this anytime soon. It's a great eyeshadow base, but I just don't feel the need for it in my collection right now. As far as lips are concerned, pretty much just balms, and then I have this mini Tarte H2O lip gloss. This came in one of the Sephora favorites sets, so I counted the value of this as $5.60, which was the value of the actual like kit, $28 divided by 5 lip products total, if you get my drift on the math there. I also finished off this Honey Trap lip balm by Lush, which I really love. I need to pick another one of these up. These are really nice. The only thing that's annoying about it is that it's potted. I hate potted lip balms, but this one's so good, so hydrating on the lips. Would definitely repurchase. This retails for $10.99. I also finished off a Bite Agave Bite Agave mask, $26 retail value. This was the like pink champagne sort of shade. I really like the lavender one. I'm using that one right now, or just the original. I have the maple too. I have an obsession with the Bite Beauty lip masks, if you couldn't tell. And I lost my maple at work, which is so sad because I liked the tint that gave to the lips, and it actually did taste like maple syrup. And then finally, I finished off a Fresh Sugar lip balm. I feel like I finished off more than these, but this is the only one I have to show you. These retail for $26. These go so quickly. I used one of these up in like 3 weeks, which is such a shame. If they lasted longer, I would purchase them more often because it's such a nice treatment for the lips, but it's just so expensive and it goes so quick. So then for lips, I used a total of 4 products up for $68.59. Alright you guys, so then I have 8 mascaras. I use so much mascara. I feel like I've lost a couple of these, and there's definitely some that I decluttered in the like beginning of the year to like when I started. I would have definitely had more mascara, but I have 2 of the CoverGirl Clump Crushers. This is one of my favorite mascaras. It's like a first step sort of priming type of mascara. These retail for $7.99. Really enjoy, would definitely repurchase, but I have such a large mascara collection due to like the amount of mascara that I get in like my subscription service boxes that I just can't justify buying a mascara right now. And then I also finished off a L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I really liked this. The first tube I went through, and then the second tube wasn't as big of a fan. This retails for $9.99. Okay, I know I had more Essence mascaras, but here are 2 of them. These retail for $4.99. I really enjoy... Everyone loves the green one, and I feel like I enjoy the pink one more. It's a toss-up though. Both are really good mascaras. I just tried the Essence I Heart Extreme Volumizing Mascara, and I actually had to declutter that because that one irritated my eyes, but the Lash Princess is really good. I also finished off an Urban Decay Perversion Mascara. This retails for $24, so this is super expensive. I love this mascara. It's really, really good, but I just cannot justify spending $24 on a mascara, so I won't be doing that, but I did love using this. I just finished off my Tarteiste mascara. I got this in some sort of subscription box. This again was good as like a first step priming mascara for me. Definitely not a favorite of mine. If I got another one in a subscription box, I would use it, but definitely like wouldn't go repurchase it myself. This retails for $23 too, so like again, I just cannot justify spending more than like $10 on a mascara. And then finally, I have my L'Oreal Voluminous Original. It's been a while since I've used this mascara, but I forgot, like as I was pulling my mascaras out, or all my empties rather, I remembered how much I used to love this mascara. This is such a good mascara. It does such a nice job of like volumizing your lashes, so I definitely want to pick this one up. But again, I just have so much mascara in my collection right now. I don't need to be running out to do that right away. This one retails for $7.99, so I used up a total of 8 mascaras for a total of $95.93. Okay, so I did my math wrong, and I didn't use over $1,000 worth of makeup, but I was pretty darn close. So for everything, my grand total of what I used up from about March or April to the end of the year was $919.45. Really, really exciting. I'm hoping to use over $1,000 worth of makeup next year because, again, one of my goals next year is to get a lot more use out of the collection that I already own and sort of buy or spend less on makeup, just so I can start to like really cycle through and curate my collection a little bit more. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. You'll have to let me know what products you used up this past year and what your makeup goals are for 2019. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to do so before you go, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because we are going to be talking about all of my empties from 2019. I ended up having 95 makeup empties, which makes me so happy, and I ended up using about $1,665 worth of makeup. If you guys are interested in catching my makeup rehab series, I will have my finale as well as my playlist linked below and in the cards, where I talk to you every month about the amount of makeup and the price of makeup that I'm bringing in versus the amount of makeup that I used. My goal at the beginning of the year was just to use up at least $1,500 worth of makeup, and I exceeded that goal, which I'm really excited about. I'm also not gonna lie, I'm very excited to kind of just throw all of this makeup away that I have been hoarding to share with you guys at the end of the year. I will be doing the same thing for 2020, and I think it'll be really interesting to compare categories next year. I did a 2018 year-end makeup empties, but I hadn't been collecting my makeup empties the entire year. I think I started in like April, so it didn't really make sense for me to kind of compare last year to this year, but I am very excited to compare 2019 to 2020, hoping that maybe in 2020 I can use up 100 makeup products, so I would have 100 makeup empties. And I haven't yet thought about what I want to set as like my dollar value goal. I think maybe if I don't want to go with 1,500 again, maybe like 1,750, since this year I used up almost 1,700. But regardless, I'm very excited that even though I do have a large makeup collection, I obviously have been using my makeup and getting use and love out of it, clearly, because I have tons of makeup empties to share with you guys today. So if you're interested in seeing all of the makeup that I went throughout the entire year of 2019, then stay tuned. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider doing so before you go. I do post videos 5 days a week, so if that's something that interests you, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button before you leave today. But other than that, let's just jump into the video. So I'm obviously not going to be giving like in-depth reviews on each product, but I will quickly breeze through each category and like the number of products that I used up in that category, and then I'll share with you which products they were, and then we'll move on. So I figured we could just start with the primer category. I ended up using a total of 15 primers this year. One thing I do want to preface this video with is I do my makeup, I would say on average 5 to 6 times per week, and on days that I film, which I usually film 1 to 2, sometimes 3 days per week, I usually end up doing my makeup a minimum of 2 times. So I do my makeup a lot. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. But starting with the primer category, like I said, I used up 15 primers, a lot of these being deluxe size. And one more thing to preface this with, not all of these products were brand new at the beginning of the year, obviously. Like some of them were like half used, etc. But starting with these two, I finished up 2 Becca primers this year. I went through an entire Becca First Light priming filter. I've said before I would not purchase this again. However, I've changed my mind, and if this were to be half off during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty again, I would purchase this because I do like the look that it gives to the skin, but just not enough to pay $39 for this. And then I also finished up the Becca Backlight priming filter. This one is a little bit more artificial looking than the First Light priming filter, so I do prefer the First Light to the Backlight, but I was able to finish up 2 Becca primers. And then I also finished up my Too Faced Hangover RX primer. This was going in a project. This is not a favorite of mine. This is another one that I picked up during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, and it was just like a so-so primer in my opinion. It was like somewhat hydrating, but I really didn't feel like it did a whole lot else for the skin, so not one that I would repurchase. I also went through a mini size of the MAC Prep and Prime Skin, nothing that I would want to repurchase. I went through 2 mini First Aid Beauty Coconut Skin Smoothing Priming Moisturizers. You guys know this is my favorite primer, and I currently own it in a full size. I also went through the travel size Hourglass number 28 Primer Serum Base. This is an oil-based primer, and it's just too hydrating and too slick kind of to actually act as a good primer. If you have really dry skin, I could see why you would like this, but it just makes it difficult then when you're trying to pair it with a foundation. You have to be very careful with which foundation you're pairing it with. So this is not one that I would repurchase. This is also very, very expensive. And speaking of Hourglass, I also finished up one of their little mini veil mineral primers. I do like this primer, but not enough to pay full size for it. From Yensa, I finished up a deluxe size tone up primer, Essential Glow. I actually really did like this. And if this was like easy to access, like if it was on the Ulta website, which maybe it is, and I just am blind, I would purchase this. I actually really like this. It had a really nice hydrating feel to the skin. It was super soft and almost had a smoothing effect, and it gave this really beautiful natural glow to the skin. So I really enjoyed using this and would repurchase if it was easy to get. I also finished up this VDL Lumi Layer Primer. I believe VDL is available on the Beautylish website. This isn't something that I enjoyed using, not one that I would repurchase. I also finished up this deluxe Korres Wild Rose Smoothie Brightening Priming Moisturizer. This was more of like a moisturizer than an actual primer, but I'm still counting it in my primer category because it says priming moisturizer. Would not repurchase this. It was just okay. It definitely was super hydrating, but again, it felt more like a primer, or it felt more like a moisturizer than a primer. I also finished up the Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Primer. I do not like this primer. Wouldn't repurchase. This was a full size, and this was a painful, hard primer to get through, but very excited that that is done. I also have a little deluxe Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I do currently have another one of these in my collection that I am saving more for the summertime. I prefer this primer in the summertime, but I do really like it, and repurchased it when I finished that. And then also, these are not a primer. I think that is it for primers, unless I find more as we go. Oh, this is kind of like a primer. This is the Burberry Fresh Glow Luminous Fluid Base. I guess you could consider this a primer. So also finished this up. This is really nice, but really expensive for the full size, so probably would not repurchase. So I did end up finishing up 14 foundations, which did feel like a lot, but again, they weren't all brand new when we started the year. So I finished up from number 7, their Stay Perfect foundation, which I like, but feel like I can't find a good shade for me within their range. The finish is beautiful, but because of the shade range and just like weird way that their shades pull, I just feel like they pull very gray and ashy. I won't be repurchasing this one. And then I also finished up the number 7 Lift and Illuminate foundation, which I thought I really liked in the beginning, but towards the end of this, it just looked a little bit greasy on my skin. So this is another one that I would not repurchase. I also finished the Laura Geller Filter First. It's so funny to like relive some of these. Like I almost feel like I finished this a couple years ago, and then it's like, oh yeah, I really did just finish that this year. But I did finish up the Laura Geller Filter First Luminous Foundation. I believe this has been discontinued, but I wasn't a huge fan of this and wouldn't have repurchased it anyway. I also finished up the Essence Fresh and Fit Awake Makeup Healthy Glow. I did really enjoy this, but their shade range again on this one just isn't good. I feel like you can maybe get like 6 shades, and you used to be able to get this at Ulta, but I don't know if you still can. Again, I really did like the finish of this. If this somehow, like if I was at Ulta just browsing around and saw this at the Ulta store, I could definitely see myself purchasing this again, but it wasn't something that I needed to immediately go out and repurchase. If you like sort of like a healthy glow to your skin, I do think that this is a pretty foundation, but again, I think there's only like 6 shades within their range, so a little bit difficult to shade match, but a really good price. Throughout the year, I finished up 2 L'Oreal Pro Glows. One was in the shade 206, which was way too dark for me, but I used it kind of as a mixer, and then also in my normal shade 202. I also currently have one of these going in my collection. This is like a forever staple foundation within my collection. I will always have this. It's always been one of my top foundations, so I anticipate that I will go through multiples of these again next year. And then I also finished up one of the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte foundations in the shade 102. I also have another one of these currently going in my collection, and that one is nearing the end, but I know when I finish that I will repurchase, so I anticipate we'll be seeing these again next year in my makeup empties. I finished up this Maybelline Dream BB Fresh BB cream. I think there's only 2 shades in this. which is fine because it's a BB cream, but this just wasn't my favorite. And personally, I am a huge fan of the Laura Geller tinted moisturizer, and I kind of like wear the tinted moisturizer in similar situations that I was wearing this. And even though this is like probably like 3/4 less, what am I trying to say? This is like $8, and the Laura Mercier one, if I said Laura Geller, I meant Laura Mercier. The Laura Mercier one is $47 or $48. So that one is astronomically more, but I just love that tinted moisturizer. Like, seriously, I'm obsessed. So I won't be repurchasing this. If you guys have any recommendations for good tinted moisturizers, leave them down below. I'm definitely interested in trying the ColourPop Freshen Up, whatever from their Fresh line. I want to try that, but for me, I won't be repurchasing the Maybelline BB Fresh. I also finished up the Maybelline Dream Matte Mousse. I didn't think you can get this anymore, but I do think you can still get this. I like the finish of this, but first of all, the shade match was not good for me. I had mine in the shade Classic Ivory, which is light 2, which might be the second lightest shade, but it was far too dark for me, and I felt like this one oxidized. And this one has a very interesting moussey texture that you kind of like put on with your hands, and it warms up on your skin, and it just takes a little extra time to make this one work for you. So I would never wear this on days that I was going to work, just because I never knew how long it was going to take for me to actually get it like set in place the way that I was going to like the way that it looked. So I wouldn't repurchase this one. Again, the finish is nice, but it's just a finicky formula, so I would not bother purchasing again. I was finally able to finish up my IT Cosmetics CC cream. This is the original. I feel like this took me like 2 years to finish. I do currently have the illuminating version of this in my collection, which I will continue to repurchase and continue to have that one in my collection. I just prefer the illuminating one to this one. This one I feel like can make my skin look a little bit lifeless and flat, but I do appreciate the SPF 50. I've said many times, I've worn this foundation so many times out in the blazing heat and never burned due to that SPF 50, so this has a special place in my heart. But again, I just prefer the illuminating version. And then I also finished up the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Cushion. I thought I was going to like love this as a cushion foundation to take with me to like touch up, and take this and have this as like a foundation where if I knew it was going to be a long day, I could bring this in my purse and touch it up. But I'm just not that type of gal to like touch up. So when I was done with this, I was just ready to be done with this. It was a nice finish. But I feel like you just don't get a lot of product with cushion foundations, and they tend to dry up and go bad pretty quickly. So cushion foundations just like aren't really my jam. So I will not be repurchasing this one. If you like cushion foundations, I do think that this is a nice one. But again, just not my personal makeup preferences. And then the last two foundations for me that I finished up were two favorites. First, I have the Dior Forever, and I believe that they have reformulated this. I currently have the Dior Forever Glow, which I like. Not as much as this one though. I do anticipate that I will pick up the Dior Forever like matte version this year to see if it's similar to this. Probably before I go to Vegas in February. I'm very excited for that trip because hello, your girl loves going to Vegas. This was just like one of my all-time favorite foundations. It had such a beautiful finish, more of like a satin matte or comfort matte finish that just like always looked good on your skin. I could always rely on this foundation, and I loved it, and I was really sad to see this one go. And then I also finished up my Too Faced Born This Way foundation. This is like my second or third bottle of this, and I eventually will purchase another one of these. I just am trying to get through a few more foundations before I go repurchasing anymore, but these two are high up on my list, and I'm sure there'll be new foundations to be releasing. So I want to use up some foundations that I know I won't be replacing before I bring these back into my collection. But I do know 2020, both of these at some point will end up back in my collection because both are beautiful. Both I feel like would work for like normal, dry, or oily skin. I feel like they just kind of check all the boxes in the sense that like I feel like they would work for a variety of skin types. So love these two. Very sad to see them go, but very happy that I was able to use them up before they went bad because these two are pricier foundations. When I started to do the math on this, I was really surprised, but I actually ended up finishing up 7 concealers this year, which was shocking to me. Some of the concealers definitely have like not too much product in them, so we'll get into that. So first, I had my First Aid Beauty Bendy Avocado Concealer. I like this concealer. I just feel like there's not a shade that matches me well. Like I feel like all their shades pull just like a hair too yellow for me. So I haven't repurchased this. I don't know. I could see myself maybe trying this again in the future because I did like the formula, but I wish they would expand their shade range because I'm not a huge fan. I did end up finishing up the Naked Skin from Urban Decay. I've lost my cap because this broke, but I am so glad they discontinued this because I was not a fan. It was painful for me to finish that one up. I also finished up the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I usually ended up using this as like an eyelid base as opposed to an actual concealer, but this one is really nice for like if you have breakouts, to cover up breakouts. It is a really nice concealer for that. I don't feel the immediate need to go out and repurchase this, but I do think that it is a nice concealer. I don't know. I feel like I wanna try other concealers, you know. I'm just not ready to fully commit to buying another one of these. I did finish up the Wet n Wild concealer, their Photo Focus concealer. I did really enjoy this concealer, but currently just my own personal whatever, I'm not currently supporting Wet n Wild, and there are other concealers that I like just as much or more than this one, so I'm perfectly content not purchasing that one again. I also finished up the Liquid Camo concealer, the Liquid Camouflage concealer from Catrice. This is another one where their shade range is definitely lacking, but I do really like this concealer. But again, I just feel like I found some concealers lately that I really do like. One of them I'm about to talk about that I can purchase over this one and be just as happy. I feel like I went through this one very, very quickly as well. The one that I am just as happy with is the Ulta Beauty Full Coverage Liquid Concealer. I did finish this off this year and I have already purchased a replacement because this is one of my favorite concealers that I've ever tried. It's really nice and moussey and creamy and hydrating under the eyes. Also very full coverage. It's just like one of my perfect concealers, and I'm very, very particular about my concealer. So, you know, if I like a concealer, it's gotta be good, right? So I really like this one. It's also only $9, so it's not like you're paying an arm and a leg for that. And then the last concealer that I finished this year was the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Concealer. I also lost the cap to this. This was fine, nothing to write home about. I definitely didn't love this one, and I felt like I went through this one incredibly quickly as well. So this is definitely one that I will not be repurchasing. Okay, another category that I was really surprised I had gone through as many as I did was powder. I actually finished up 5 powders this year. One of them being the Becca Hydro Mist powder. Now this powder goes so quickly because it dries up very quickly because of the water content in it, but I was able to finish this up. I got this in BoxyCharm like halfway through the year and very, very quickly finished it up within like a month and a half to 2.5, maybe 3 months. But this one was not hard to finish up. Wow. I thought I had finished this one up last year, but this is the NYX HD Finishing Powder. I completely forgot about this. This was like the brightening powder. Would not repurchase this, just too dry underneath my eyes and just not a favorite. I also finished up the Tarte Smooth Operator Powder. This is really pigmented and a little bit heavy. I usually use this to clean up like my bake, and obviously it was just a mini size. Not something that I would repurchase. I also finished up the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Powder. I don't know why I'm showing you the empty container, whatever. This is something I think I will end up repurchasing. I thought that the $45 price point was a little bit absurd and ridiculous, and while I still do, there's really not a powder out there that does the same as this that I like as much as this. So I do see myself repurchasing this one this year. I really do actually really like this. I finished off this little itty bitty mini Cover FX translucent light powder. This is their Perfect powder. I wasn't as impressed by this as I thought it was going to be. Jaclyn Hill used to rave about this, so I thought I was going to love it, and it was just meh in my opinion, so nothing that I went out to purchase the full size in. And then I also finished up the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Illumination Powder. I used to really like this, but as I got towards the end of this, it was just kind of like, I just preferred to use my Charlotte Tilbury powder. I just felt like it gave me smoother results. It just made me look a little bit more airbrushed and more like of like that perfect sort of finish that I was going for. So this is not something that I intend to repurchase. This has been done for a while and I've literally not missed it at all. So those were the 5 powders that I finished up this year. For bronzer, I did actually finish up 4 bronzers this year, but a couple of them, 3 of them I had been working on diligently in 2018. So first I finished up my Hoola Quickie Contour Stick. This felt like the product that would never end. I even like scraped inside this, but this is done. It was so long ago that I finished this. It feels like it was more than a year ago, but very excited to have finished that. I also finished off finally the Hoola Mini Benefit Bronzer. This is something I had been working on in my 18 and 2018 project pan, and I didn't finish this till close to the end of this year. But I'm very excited to have this out of my collection because I do still have the Hoola Benefit Bronzer going in my Cheekathon palette, so I still own this bronzer in my collection. And then I also finished off my Becca Sunlit Bronzer, which I used to think I was going to repurchase, but this is just so similar to the Physicians Formula bronzer that I feel like that one will just suffice. Like, I'm not gonna miss this because I'll have that one, and I have other bronzers in my collection that I currently do love as well. So I'm really excited to have moved this bronzer out of my collection and not have to replace this. And then I did also finish up my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, which I will at some point replace this year. I am coming off of a low buy, and I don't want to like go buck wild. I still am going to be doing a beauty budget, a makeup rehab of sorts in January, or not in January, throughout the year 2020. So eventually this will rejoin my collection. It's just kind of a matter of when. Okay, here's where it gets a little wild. So for mascara, I finished off, I use loosely 17 mascaras. Now when I say I finished off, for my mascara, when it reached the 3 or 4 month mark, I just counted it as done, and I counted it as complete, whether or not there was still product in it, just because for me, I don't want to risk getting an eye infection, and it doesn't really bother me if there's still like mascara in the tube, but I still want to count it as an empty because I was diligently working on that mascara. If it was a situation where I opened it one time and used it a few times, if it was a situation where I opened it and only used it a handful of times, that would be different. For example, the Pat McGrath Fetish mascara, I ended up using 3 times in decluttering, and that's not included in this. These are all things that I worked on diligently for a minimum of 3 months, maximum of 4, but I did end up going through 17 mascaras. Many of them are deluxe size. So, for example, I have 2 of the Dior mascaras. I also have a Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir. I have an Hourglass Caution. I have a Tarte Maneater. Oh, I forgot. I really do like the Tarte Maneater. I also have a waterproof Lancome Monsieur Big. I have a full-size Better Than Sex mascara. I have a full-size Mile High Club mascara from Wander Beauty. I do think Wander Beauty makes good mascaras. I have 2 full-size Essie Lash Princess mascaras. One is the False Effect and one is the Volumizing. I also have the Voluminous Superstar Fiber like mascara with the 2 sides from, I think, L'Oreal. I have a mini Kush mascara. I have a mini Kush waterproof mascara. I have a Flower Beauty Warrior mascara. I have the IT Cosmetics Superhero mascara. And then I also have the Benefit The Real Tinted mascara, as well as the just regular mascara. So obviously I went through a ton of mascara this year. I would expect nothing less in 2020. I love to cocktail my mascaras. I literally use a minimum of 3 mascaras per day, which sounds pathetic, but it's like my trademark. It's just my thing. So those are all of the mascaras that I went through. I also went through 4 brow products. So I finished up the ABH Clear Brow Gel. This is so old and it is truly dead. And then I also finished up very recently this MAC Spiked Eyebrow Pencil. I also was able to finish off the ABH Brow Definer this year. I really focused hard on these in projects because you guys know I love just using my brow powder, but I had pencils in my collection and I really wanted to get through some of them. If you guys have any recommendations on pencils that I should try, I do kind of want to start getting back into pencils or just different things things for my brows this year, so do let me know what you recommend. And then I also finished up the Essence Make Me Brow. So those are the brow products that I finished off. Ooh, I missed a foundation. I also finished up the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation, which unfortunately has been discontinued. I do still have one full-size jar of this in my collection that I am putting in my 20 and 2020 project pan because, I mean, I may as well use it while I have it rather than let it go bad, but that does make me so sad that this has been discontinued. I do have one random eye product. I finished up the Stila Glitter and Glow in Kitten Karma. I got everything I could out of this. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but most of the sides of the walls are actually like empty. There is obviously still a little bit of product down here. These do dry up very, very quickly, which is really, really sad, but wanted to point that out. I must have counted this. So these are glow drops from Luxe Lights. I bet I counted these as part of my primers, but wanted to point that out. And then lip products. So most of the lip products that I went through were balms because your girl needs lots of lip balm here in Minnesota. So I went through 10 lip balms, 1 lip gloss, and no, 10 lip balms, 1 lipstick, and 5 lip glosses. So let's start with the one lipstick I was able to get through, and I freaking loved this lipstick. So this is a little deluxe of the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, and this is in the shade Margs. I'm not going to scrape this product out, but like it literally drags across my lips. This was like my perfect lipstick shade. I wish that they would make this shade permanent because this is also my favorite lipstick formula. As far as lip glosses are concerned, shoot, I actually have 5 lip glosses. 5 lip glosses. Okay, so I have the Too Faced Sweet Peach Creamy Peach Lip Gloss, which is just a little mini that I finished. I also finished this lip gloss from Fluid. I must have got this in an Ipsy or something. I actually flew through this. And then I also finished up this Buxom lip gloss in Pink Lady. I actually did not have much trouble finishing this up, and my goal is going to be to use up like 3 of my little mini Buxom lip glosses this year, just because I have quite a few in my collection that I really do not need. And if I throw them in my purse and bring them to work with me, I feel like I can get through them. I also went through this deluxe size Marc Jacobs Sugar Sugar lip gloss. I still love Sugar Sugar. I think it's a beautiful lip gloss. And then I did finish off the full size original Fenty Gloss Bomb, which I need to replace because I still love this shade. It is probably still my favorite, although I do really like Sweet Mouth. It was like a limited edition shade in her Bomb Baby, like limited edition Christmas whatever. And I do really like Diamond Dust, but there's something about the original shade that just like has my heart. So eventually I will repurchase this. And then as for the balms that I went through, I just recently finished up the ColourPop Lippy Balm. I really like this, and I would compare this to the Kopari Lip Glossy, except for this is just a little bit thicker, but both are very, very nourishing on the lips. I also finished up the Laneige Lip Glowy Balm. Not my favorite, would not repurchase. I just felt like it sort of dried my lips out. I finished up 2 of the Milk Kush lip balms, one in the shade Nug. This again like scrapes at me if I try and put this on, but this is a really nice neutral shade. I do prefer the shade Canatonic for the Milk Kush balms, which I think if I finish that one I would repurchase, just because it's nice to have a tinted lip balm in your collection. These ones aren't going to like help survive or like revive your lips, but they'll help maintain the moisture of your lips. And then I also finished up Green Dragon, which is just the original. I did go through 2 of the Drunk Elephant Lippy Balms. These are not my favorite ever, I will admit, just because these it's almost like a glue stick, the size of like a large glue stick. So I feel like when you're putting this on, it's like you're literally getting lip gloss all over your face. So not my favorite, but I still have another one of these in my collection I'm trying to get through. I also went through the Bite Agave lip balm, like the one in the bullet form. Wouldn't repurchase this specifically, I just prefer the Bite Beauty Agave lip mask personally. I also finished up this Glam Glow Pout Mud lip balm, tinted lip balm thing. This was in the shade Birthday Suit. I'd had this in my collection for so long, so really happy to have finished that off. I also finished up the Chapstick Total Hydration Vitamin Enriched Lip Night Serum, which I just used as a lip balm throughout the day. And then I finished up the Sugar Rosé. And then I finished up the Fresh Sugar Rosé lip balm. Now I feel like a little bit more. No, that's completely gone. I do really like the Fresh Sugar lip balms, but they're $24, $26, and I truly fly through them in like 3 weeks. The original one in like the copper packaging is by far my favorite. I think it's way more hydrating than any of the tinted ones that I've tried. Love it. But it's definitely like a splurge luxury item. But I did finish that off. And then finally, we just have setting spray to talk about. I did finish up 11 setting sprays, which I was kind of surprised about, but at the same time, I feel like I use setting spray quite a bit. Like I'll spray it at night. I don't know if I have any Mario Badescu ones in here. Yes, I do. Which I'll usually just like spray on my face at night or refresh throughout the day. I also like midway through my makeup spray with my MAC Fix Plus. So I was like, whoa, like your girl uses a lot of setting spray, but it was a little eye-opening. So I finished the Ofra Makeup Fixer Spray, which I love because you get so much product in this. This is definitely something that I do plan to repurchase at some point this year. I also finished up the Scandinavia Makeup Finishing Spray. So many people rave about this and say it makes their makeup last forever, but I truly was unimpressed by this and prefer the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. So this is not something that I would repurchase. I forgot about this because it's been so long since I've used this, but this is the Catrice Illuminating Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray. I definitely want to repurchase this at some point this year. I really liked using this midway through my makeup to just give me a little bit of a glow without being too glowy and just kind of like refresh, but I really enjoyed that one from Catrice. I also finished up this little mini dewy Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist. You guys, I love this spray, but it is so expensive. So pretty much if I'm going on a trip, I will purchase the like travel size and use it on my trip, and it's like my little luxurious treat to myself. But other than that, I just cannot justify the price. I am interested in trying their satin setting spray as well. So if you guys have tried it, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. But I finished that off. I also finished up the Pixie Glow Mist. I've gone through multiples of these in the past. Used to think I really loved this. Wasn't a huge fan towards the end of this, so I don't know if I'm going to repurchase this or not. I currently really enjoy the Glow Recipe Watermelon Mist, which kind of gives the same effect without being like so glowy. So I feel like I would go with the Glow Recipe one over this, even though this is like half the price. Like I said, I did finish up one Mario Badescu spray. This was the Orange Blossom one. I feel like I'm taking a break from Mario Badescu sprays. I just feel like they aren't as good for your skin as I once thought. So haven't repurchased since this, and I'm not sure I will be repurchasing any more in the future. I do still have a lavender spray currently in my collection, but after that's done, I won't be purchasing any more Mario Badescu sprays. I did finish up the ABH Dewy Setting Spray. I liked this, but I felt like you could go too heavy with this pretty easily, so it was kind of like a risky spray, if you will. You could end up looking very, very dewy, so I have not repurchased this one, and I don't really anticipate I will in the future. I also finished up one Morphe Continuous Mist Setting Spray. I like this spray. It's nice, especially in between, like in the middle of your makeup when you're just trying to set and lock your powders in. I like it for that, but this setting spray goes so quickly. I swear I can use this up in like a month and a half to 2 months. So I'm not going to say I'm never going to purchase this again, but as of right now, I'm kind of like taking a break from Morphe, and I don't see myself repurchasing this anytime in the future. I also finished up two MAC
Prep and Prime sprays. One was just the original, one was the coconut scented one. I still do have 2 MAC Fix Pluses currently in my collection. It's just like an all-time favorite setting spray. I don't know what it is about this. I just love the way that it locks in and sets in your powders. So I feel like this is a spray that will always be in my collection. And I did finish off 2 of them this year. And then finally I went through a little mini travel size of the Urban Decay All Nighter Summer Solstice. I flew through this. Like, I'm talking like 2 weeks and I was done with this. Whereas the actual full size of the Urban Decay will last me like 3 months. I just flew through this. I did like the way that this smelled, but I ended up purchasing this just so I could get like extra points at Ulta. It was a really good deal, okay, you guys? But very happy to have finished this up and have another spray out of my collection. And after that, you guys, so those are all 95 makeup products that I ended up using up and emptying out of my collection this year. Leave me a comment down below if you have a tally of how many makeup empties you finished this year. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, just leave me a comment and let me know some products that you finished up this year. What are your goals for 2020? I would love to hear from you. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video, and I will catch you in tomorrow's. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. It is one that I get excited to film every year at the beginning of the year, and it is going to be my 2020 makeup empties, and I am so excited because I used up more makeup than I did last year. Of course, my daughter wants to join. Her school is closed, so yeah. It's been interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, hello! Different outfit, different day. I got through this video. I got about halfway through filming this video yesterday, and it was way too chaotic with the dog and the daughter. And now my daughter is at grandma's house and we're gonna try again. I really was excited to make this video and just kind of share a lot of the data that I've been accumulating. And I felt so rushed yesterday that I was just getting anxiety that I was going to put out a video that I wasn't proud of, and this is one I've been really excited to film. So I don't know where the introduction is versus now, but essentially I'm going to share with you guys all of the makeup empties that I used up this year. Again, I used up more makeup this year than I did last year. Just to preface my normal makeup consumption in the year of 2020, I still remained working 5 days a week, and I went to work. It wasn't like I was working from home. I had no issue with doing a full face of makeup and putting a mask over half my face and, you know, having my face wear off on my mask. I love doing my makeup. It is, you know, I can only draw stick people, so doing my makeup, even though I'm not great at it, is my way of being creative. I am actually like a very creative person. The execution of my creativity, though, is just subpar, but I absolutely love doing my makeup. It's my time to just like mindlessly have fun with color, with whatever. So throughout the year, I would say I wore makeup still 5 to 6 times every single week. Yes, there were some weeks I wore it less than other weeks, but I was wearing makeup a ton. Sometimes when I film, I will do 2 to 3 looks in a day, so I do my makeup a lot. So I understand that I probably use up more makeup than your average consumer in a year. I just want to preface it by saying that so you kind of have an understanding for how often I use my makeup before we jump into the empties. I'm also really excited because I have my last year's results to share with you versus this year's. Like I said, I used up more dollar value worth of product this year, and I also have more makeup empties to share with you this year. I also have each category to compare to last year, so primer used last year versus primer used this year. And I believe that is everything. I want to start by telling you the order of the makeup categories that I actually used the most product up of. So the most used makeup product category for me was actually primer. And I will say I did repurpose a lot of my primer this year. So if something wasn't working for me as an actual primer, I would repurpose it and maybe put like an illuminating primer in a lotion and just use it as an illuminating lotion. Maybe I would use the primer on my body as like a body illuminator. Or if it was a moisturizing primer that I just didn't feel like did enough as a primer, sometimes I would repurpose it and just use it as a moisturizer. So I definitely repurposed a lot of primers. If you are new to my channel, I freaking adore primer. It is a makeup step that I actually get excited to use. And if I put foundation on my face, like if I'm not thinking or if I'm distracted as I start my makeup process and I put makeup or I put foundation on my face before primer, I will literally take it off and go put primer back on. It just feels wrong for me to not put primer on my face. So naturally, I love testing new primers, and I don't want primers that I don't like to go to waste. I am also picky with my primers. So that's why I found a lot of ways to repurpose primer this year, which is why you will see I use up a ton of primer this year. My second most used category was actually setting spray, and I think a reason for that is I feel like I was layering on a lot of powders this year to kind of set my makeup down as much as possible in the year of wearing the masks with our makeup. So I went through a lot of setting spray. Mascara was my third most used category, which was actually my most used category of 2019, and I think I didn't have as many mascaras open at a time, and I've also really, well, both last year and this year, I've really dedicated myself to using mini mascaras over full-size mascaras because I do typically like to have 3 to 4 mascaras open at a time because I personally like to layer my mascaras, but I will dispose of my mascaras typically every 3 to 4 months. I will say I got a little lazy this year and maybe used a couple of them like 5 or 6 months, whereas last year I was very dedicated to that 3-month mark, which is maybe why this category went down a little bit. My fourth most used category was lip balm, which is crazy. I used up more lip balm this year than I did foundation. My fifth most used category was lip gloss. Sixth was foundation. Seventh, concealer. Eighth, powder. 9 and 10 were tied for like random eye products like Stila Glitter and Glows or like liquid liner, and that was tied with liner. Oh, that was tied with lipstick and lip liners. And then next was brow products and bronzer. Those two categories were tied. And then coming in last was blush. But I did finish off a blush this year because I finished off a liquid blush. Can we get a round of applause for me finishing off a blush? Thank you so much. With that being said, let's jump in to each category. We're going to start with primer. And my primer category, I used a total of 25 primers this year. Now you'll see some of them are like really mini deluxe size samples, but I went through 25 primers totaling $473.14 worth of primer. And I did this throughout every category where I divided like my total value used by the number of products I used to give me an average cost per primer or per whatever product it is that I used up, so that I could kind of see, like, you'll see with like my setting sprays, like I use a lot of setting spray and my average cost per setting spray came to $23.34. And if I'm going to be using up, what did I use up for sprays this year? 17 sprays in 1 year. Maybe it's time I find some less expensive sprays to use. So I did this for my benefit. I will post like numbers over here, so maybe it's a little bit less confusing as I just blurt out numbers to you. But the average cost of each primer that I used came to $18.92. Last year I used up 15 primers, so my primer usage went up by 10 primers this year. Let's get into the primers I used up. Okay, so there are 4 primers I used up this year that I almost would consider them to be like a primer to a primer, and I'll kind of get into that. So up first, I have the Touch in Sol No Problem Prime Essence. This was just like a priming essence, but it didn't do enough to like prime the skin that I would go over this then with another primer. So it really just felt like an extra step, and honestly I wouldn't repurchase this. I got it in a BoxyCharm. And then I also have the Wander Beauty Glow Ahead Illuminating Face Oil, which I kind of considered to be a primer because I used it kind of in the same way as this Prime Essence. But again, I felt like even if this was like a glowier primer, it didn't do enough in terms of what I'm looking for in a primer to be considered a primer. So this was an extra step Wouldn't repurchase. I felt the same way about the Farsali liquid glass. I thought this was nice. It was beautiful, but honestly, I just feel like I really don't need this in my makeup collection. Again, it felt like an extra step, so I wouldn't repurchase that. And then also from Touch in Sol, I finished up the Pretty Fresh Glassy Skin Balm, which I ended up using more as a moisturizer, but I've seen people use this as a primer, so I considered it in the primer category. This was incredibly glowy, and I really enjoyed this at one point, but towards the end of this, and with more consistent use, I was like, this just really isn't for me, so this is not something I would repurchase. Next up, I have some primers that I sort of repurposed into morning moisturizers. So I have these 2 sample sizes of the Smashbox Vitamin Glow. These were really nice. I think that they have vitamin C. Yes, they do have vitamin C in it, and the ingredients should be good for your skin, but this really did feel more like a gel-like moisturizer rather than a primer, so it's not something that I was inclined to purchase in a full size, because honestly, I would rather just use one of my favorite moisturizers rather than use this. Oh my gosh, my entire hair is like, my hair just doesn't want to stay in a ponytail. I kind of felt the same way about the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer. I really like this in the beginning. This is really nice and glowy, but it doesn't do what I'm looking for a primer to do. It really doesn't smooth the skin out, and it really doesn't offer a grip to my makeup. So I really ended up finishing this up by using it more as a moisturizer. It did feel nice and moisturizing on the skin, but not something that I personally would repurchase. Also, the Dominique Cosmetics JD Weighty collab just was way too lightweight to be a primer for me. It did nothing in terms of like making my skin feel primed for makeup, but it did feel nice and hydrating. This felt more like a skincare item, so I did end up using this in the summertime as a morning moisturizer as well. It was nice and lightweight, so it sunk into the skin really quickly, but it's not something I would repurchase. And then something I would consider repurchasing potentially is the Catrice Prime and Friend Fresh It Up Moisturizing Aqua Fresh Hydro Primer. This is really nice and moisturizing, and if you're looking for a hydrating primer, I think this is a really nice, less expensive option than a lot of the more high-end or even some drugstore options. I believe this retails for $7.99. The reason I say I may or may not pick this back up is because honestly, I feel like I'm at a good place with my skincare routine that I don't necessarily need a primer that just is hydrating. If it's hydrating and pore filling, or if it's hydrating and offers like a tack to the skin, then yes, maybe, but I truly just felt like this was just a hydrating primer, so I could just use my moisturizer and didn't have to use this. But there's that other part of me that feels like I do really enjoy this from time to time, so I could see myself purchasing it again, especially because it is so affordable. So I finished that up. A primer that I ended up repurposing as a body highlighter was the Kaja Dream Puff Radiant Mousse Primer. This was probably the worst primer I've ever used. I don't know why anyone would consider this a primer even. It was a mousse-like consistency, but also like thin as air, so you would squirt it out, it would like explode into this huge bubble of like mousse, but then you would like pat it down and it would instantly disintegrate, and then you'd be left with this just like glittery mess. So I ended up using this all over my body this summer. It worked fine as that, but I would not waste my money on this. I don't even know if this is still available, but I did not think that that was good. Towards the beginning of the year, I finally finished off my Amazing Cosmetics Illuminating Primer. I don't know if you can get this anymore. I'm not a huge fan of just illuminating primers anymore. If a primer offers like a dewy glow and is hydrating, then maybe, but just solely like an illuminating primer just is not my jam, so I would not repurchase that even if I could. This Origins primer, I feel like everyone loves, but I just don't love so much. And I also feel like this has a shorter shelf life. It's the Pore Perfecting Cooling Primer with Willow Herb. I just don't think I like primer in aerosol cans. It's a really interesting texture to then put on your face. This definitely was cooling, but I didn't notice that it really did anything for making my makeup last longer or anything like that. And it is really expensive, so I would not repurchase that. Another primer that I repurposed into a body illuminator, I mixed this in with a lotion. This is the MAC Strobe Cream. I bought this a long time ago. I couldn't find a way to use it that I liked it. And then one of you recommended I just put it in a lotion, and I really like it that way. So I'm glad I was able to finish this up using it that way. I also have some minis. I also have some mini primers that I finished up. I had this mini Beauty Blender Opal Essence primer. This felt super greasy. I would not recommend. I would like literally not touch this with a 10-foot pole. I just was not a fan. It felt super slick on the skin and just really uncomfortable. I also finished up a little mini Too Faced Hangover RX replenishing primer. I've used this up in the full size. Not a favorite primer of mine. Not one I would purchase in a full size. And then I also finished up a mini of the Becca First Light priming filter. I do really enjoy this primer, but not for $39. If I could get this half off on an Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, I would purchase it for the $19 because I think it's a really beautiful, it does offer a little bit of illuminating, and then it also does offer a little bit of like a grip to your makeup, so I think that it serves a purpose. I just don't think it's worth $39, but if I could get it half off, I would buy it at half off. I also finished up the Touch in Sol No Problem Primer. There's like a little bit of product left that I could maybe try and scrape out, but I've like tried to reach the edges and really can't get a lot out. So I'm good with calling this good. I have another one of these that I'm currently trying to use up. I used to really enjoy this, but I just have other pore filling primers that I prefer over this at this point. I just tried ones I like better. I really like the Ordinary one, and I also really like the First Aid Beauty Pores Be Gone. So when I finish my other one like this, I wouldn't repurchase. I also finished up my second deluxe size of the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I definitely like this less using the second bottle of this than I did the first time I used it. If you're going for a gripping primer, I honestly would recommend the Urban Decay All Nighter gripping primer over this. I just think that one is less finicky and isn't going to ball up or just ruin your makeup like this one sometimes does. So wouldn't repurchase the Milk Hydro Grip. And then I also finished up the Ofra Rays of Light Primer. It feels like years ago that I finished this up. Makes me like realize how long 2020 really has felt. I completely forgot about this primer. This was supposed to give you sort of like a bronzy effect to the cheeks, and honestly I just didn't feel like it really did that. Not a favorite primer, would not repurchase. And then I believe I just have 3 other primers. The Flower Beauty In Your Prime Illuminating Primer, wouldn't repurchase. Not a huge fan of illuminating primers. The Cover FX Water Cloud Primer, I wasn't a huge fan of either. I got this in a, whoops, I got this in a BoxyCharm. There it goes. Got it in a BoxyCharm. Wasn't that impressed. And then I also purchased a mini of the Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Primer towards the beginning of this year. I liked this, and I think if you have oily skin, you would definitely really enjoy this if you are looking for something that is going to be nice and blurring. It was just a little bit heavier and a little bit more drying than I prefer from a smoothing primer. Again, I just have a couple others I prefer over this, but if you have oily skin, I think you would really enjoy this. I thought it was a good one, but for me, I just have other ones that work better for my personal skin things. Yeah. Okay, that's the primer category. All right, moving on to setting spray. I used up 16 setting sprays this year as opposed to 11 last year. So my setting spray usage went up by 5, which I could see because I've been, again, using a lot of powder and wanting to spray that and set it in place. A lot of times I like to lock my makeup in and then also add a little bit of a dew. So I layer a lot of sprays. When it comes to spray, I used up $372 worth of setting spray for an average total cost of $23.24. So I need to find some more affordable setting sprays. But we'll get into, there was a couple of like really pricey ones that were sent to me via either Octoly or BoxyCharm that I didn't necessarily purchase for myself. So let's go through the setting sprays I used up. So up first, I have these 2 from Glow Recipe. It's the Watermelon Glow Ultra Fine Mist. I really enjoy this, would consider purchasing again in the future. My only gripe with this is it has a 6-month shelf life, and I really feel like it doesn't last much longer than these 6 months. So if you are someone with a large spray collection, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but if you are someone who is looking for a really beautiful glowy spray that has a fine mist and isn't going to be something like the Pixi Glow Tonic where you can just end up looking way too glowy, I would recommend this one. This is something I could see myself purchasing again in the future. I don't feel the immediate need to run out and get it. It's still a favorite glowy hydrating mist of mine. I just don't like that it has such a short shelf life. I also finished up 2 of the MAC Fix setting sprays. This is one of my absolute sprays, especially for like in between makeup steps to really melt your powders down and just reset and refresh your face. I used up the coconut one and the lavender one. I don't mind the scented ones, but I would probably just go with the original in the future. The coconut one though, I really do like for the summertime. So I can see myself using this in the summer. I have a little mini right now that I'm still trying to finish up. Setting sprays, I don't have a huge collection, but I also don't like to overwhelm myself with setting sprays. So eventually I will own a large size of this again next year. This is one of my favorite sprays, something that I feel like I always need to have in my collection, and I finished 2 of them off this year. I also finished up 2 Urban Decay All-Nighters. I absolutely love this. This is my tried and true go-to if I need my makeup to last longer, because I truly do feel like this spray makes a difference. I am currently testing out the Charlotte Tilbury spray that I do feel like makes a difference in making your makeup last longer. However, for some reason, there is like a scent memory tied to the way that the Charlotte Tilbury one smells. And it reminds me of like a really hard night of drinking in college. I'm not joking about this. It literally reminds me of like my head resting on a toilet, vomiting into the toilet after a hard night of drinking. There's like a scent memory tied to it. I don't know. I've heard people say it smells like cherry blossoms. I'm like, did I throw up? Probably McGillicuddy's cherry. My like freshman year of college probably. But after I finish that spray up, I just don't think I can do the Charlotte Tilbury one because it just reminds me of like the porcelain bowl. So I will be using the Urban Decay All-Nighter going forward in the future for a long-lasting setting spray. I also used or tested out, tried for the first time, 3 e.l.f. sprays this year. I have the Hydrating Coconut Mist. I could see myself carrying this around in the summer in my purse. I like to always have a setting spray in my purse if my like makeup's starting to just look like that, like, you know, I like spray my face at my desk. I used to use the Mario Badescu, but that has too much fragrance now. So I don't know, this probably has fragrance too, but this is something I could see myself carrying around in my bag or beach bag. I like that it smells like coconut for the summer. It's $10. I feel like I flew through this though, but I could see myself repurchasing that. I don't think it really does anything other than makes your skin feel hydrated again, but I could see myself purchasing that again. I also have the Dewy Coconut Setting Mist. This is supposed to be long lasting. Noticed no difference with this. Wouldn't recommend. And then also I have the Stay All Night Microfine Setting Mist, which is supposed to be a dupe for the Urban Decay All-Nighter. I would say the few times that I used this before the spray went all wonky on me, I do feel like this made a difference in making my makeup last longer. But the spray all of a sudden, after like 3 or 4 uses, started being like, that's how it sprayed out. Like, I can't even describe. And then I poured it into an empty bottle of my Urban Decay All-Nighter, and it still sprayed out that way. So it has to be something with the actual formula of the product instead of the like sprayer. And I would even like give it like a shake weight level shake before I would spray it on my face. So I can't recommend this. I'm sorry. 2 more affordable sprays I used up this year. The Florence by the Mills Zero Chill Face Mist. This really did nothing. And I believe this is $10 as well. I would just purchase the e.l.f. Hydrating Coconut Mist if you're looking for something to carry in your purse to just hydrate your face. Or honestly, just put water in like a spray bottle. Can you imagine, you know, like the spray bottles that people use to like spray their like leaves on plants? Trust me, I'm not someone who can keep a plant alive, but like I know you're supposed to like spray the leaves or something. Can you imagine if you carried one of those water bottle or those spray bottles? I think you can get them in like the dollar section at Target. Maybe they're like $3. Or the travel section. Can you imagine if you just carried one of those around in your bag with water in it and like sprayed your face? You could. I also finished up the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist. If I'm looking for a less expensive alternative to some of my other mists, I could see myself repurchasing this. I don't think this does miracles by any means, but I do think it's a nice hydrating mist, and based on the average amount that my sprays cost me, I would like to buy more affordable mists for things like just like melting my powders in, even though I will still always own my MAC Fix Plus. So I could definitely see myself owning this again in the future. Again, I don't think it's miracle worker, but I do think it's a nice hydrating spray. And then the final 3 mists, I used up this Power Up mist by In Beauty Project. I got this in a BoxyCharm and I thought this was really, really nice. It offered a really nice glow to the skin, but I believe you can only get this on their website, and I'm too lazy to just order a mist off of a website. If by some chance this came to like Ulta Beauty, I definitely would order this. It's $32, expensive, but I thought it was worth it. I don't know, I really liked this spray. I was pleasantly surprised by that. A spray I really did not like was the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray. I ended up spraying this on my body to give my body a glow in the summer because all this is glitter in a bottle. You know, for Halloween when you can get like the aerosol cans where you spray glitter on your hair? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I feel like that's what this is. Yeah, just this is not good. And then finally, I finished up the Caudalie Beauty Elixir. I got this sent to me through Octoly, and thank goodness, because this is super expensive. It's like $49.50. I can't imagine spending $50 on this beauty elixir. It has this like menthol-y feel to it, and it was fine. I ended up mostly using this as a priming spray. Like I would spray this on my face in the morning before putting makeup on. But like, this is just like so unnecessary that I just can't justify recommending this or rebuying this for $50. So that is part of why the average cost was so high, but yeah, I would not rebuy this. Next up, we're gonna go through my powder. So my powder category is the highest in terms of the average cost per powder. So I used up 5 powders this year for a total of $128.99, putting the average cost of each powder at $25.78. Last year I used up 5 powders. This year I used up 5 powders, so that remained consistent. Now let's go through those powders. Oh, I just realized I forgot to mention that I finished up the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer this year. This is only $8, and I honestly didn't think I liked this, but now that I don't have it in my collection anymore, I kind of miss it and could see myself repurchasing this. I thought this was a good primer because it doesn't pill. It does a nice job of smoothing, and you can layer it with other primers, and I've never had an issue with it pilling, so that was another primer I used up this year. All right, here are the 5 powders I used up this year. So the least expensive was the Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder. I wasn't a huge fan of this, and the packaging is always so cheap on these that it breaks. I wouldn't repurchase. I would spend a few extra dollars to get a nicer pressed powder. I also finished up the Ciate London Everyday Vacay Powder. I felt like this powder went really, really quickly. I was like, if I remember correctly, it smelled like coconuts, but maybe it was the spray. Oh! I realized I missed a spray. I also finished up the Ciate London Everyday Vacay Spray. This was fine, nothing special, wouldn't repurchase. And I feel the same way about the powder. Like, it was fine. It wasn't something that looked super flat on the skin, but it was nothing special that would make me want to repurchase it. I have other favorite powders over that. Speaking of favorite powders, I would consider these 3 to be my 3 favorite loose powders. So up first, I have the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I do have another one of these currently in my collection. I really like this powder because it is heavier in a sense that it is going to do a really nice job of locking your makeup into place, but it isn't such a flat powder that it is going to look super heavy and super cakey on the skin. And it doesn't have really a luminosity to it, but it isn't going to make your face look like it's dead or just completely flat. So I really enjoy this one from Too Faced. I definitely recommend that one. You guys know I fell in love with the Glossier Wowder this year. I have another one of these currently in my collection. I love that this is so lightweight, but still does a nice job of locking your powder into place without looking heavy at all. And then the Hourglass Translucent Veil Powder I think is amazing. I eventually will repurchase this. I just haven't gotten around to it. I want to use up some other powders before repurchasing, but this is another one that is really nice because it does offer just like a little bit of life to the skin in a powder, whereas there are just some other powders that just like completely suck the life out of your face. So those were the powders that I used up. All right, you guys, moving on to the foundation category. I did use up 8 foundations last year. Or no, sorry, 8 foundations this year. Last year I used up 14 foundations. Now I did bring quite a few foundations into my collection this year. So that could be part of it. We'll see. I'll be very interested to see how much foundation I end up using up next year. My total value for foundation used up was $197.95. This led to an average of $24.74. I will say a lot of the foundations that I finished up this year were drugstore foundations, and I feel like my drugstore foundation collection is dwindling. If you guys have any good drugstore foundation recommendations that you would like to see me try in the new year, let me know. You guys know I still love my L'Oreal Pro Glow and Pro Matte, although I haven't been reaching for the Pro Glow as much as I used to, but that's beside the point. Let's get into the foundations I finished up. So speaking of L'Oreal, I did finish up one of the L'Oreal Pro Mattes. I honestly don't even remember finishing this up. This had to have been at the very beginning of this year. I do really enjoy this foundation and feel like I will own this again. I really enjoy mixing this with the L'Oreal Pro Glow because this one has a little bit more lasting power, and those two mixed together are just like so perfect. I also finished up the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. I'm not a huge fan of this. I know so many people are, but this wouldn't be a repurchase for me. Another foundation that wouldn't be a repurchase, if you guys are not new to my channel, you know how much I despise this Wander Beauty Nude Illusion foundation. This was painful to finish off. It went on forever, but alas, I finally finished this off, and I'm so glad to move this out of my collection. This just added so much texture to my skin that I didn't even know my skin had. It like made my pores look larger than I felt like they were, and it just was not cute. So this wouldn't be a rebuy for me. Speaking of drugstore, I also finished up the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. I took the stopper out of this, or I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I've scraped everything I can out of this. Could I maybe get 1 or 2 more uses out of this? Probably. But like, if you look at this up to the light, like there's like no product left in here. And I'm perfectly fine with calling this empty. So I finished that up. I also finished up the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation, which has been discontinued and you can no longer get. I went through 3 or 4 of these. I used to love this. It was a little bit heavier than I remember as I was finishing this up. So honestly, I'm not too mad that I can't get this anymore because I don't think I would have repurchased it. The final drugstore foundation I finished off was the Revlon Candid Photo Ready. I thought this was a beautiful foundation with no lasting power, so wouldn't repurchase. If this lasted a good 8-9 hours, yes, I would repurchase because I think it has the most beautiful finish ever, but it just starts to wear off your face so quickly. Even set with a powder or with a gripping primer, this just doesn't work. So that's super unfortunate because I really did enjoy that. The YSL All-in-One Glow, I liked this. The more I used it, the more I was like, I don't think I'll repurchase this. I think it's pretty, but I don't think I will repurchase. I have other formulas similar to this that I prefer over this, and I also love my YSL Radiance Awakening. That's one I will repurchase, and I want to try the YSL All Hours. So honestly, this one just gets the boot. I'm glad I finished it up though. That one was a pricey one. And then I also finished up the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. This was the illuminating version, which I believe was discontinued. I know that the original tinted moisturizer was like repackaged. I don't know if it was reformulated. I do have the new one, but I was happy to finish this off. This was beautiful. One of my absolute favorite tinted moisturizers. It makes me really sad that I don't think I can get the illuminating version anymore because it offered the most beautiful glow to the skin. But yeah, I can't get this anymore, so this one is gone. All right, let's move on to concealer. I used up 6 concealers this year. Last year I used up 7. Some of the concealers I finished this year had a lot of product in them. My total concealer dollar value usage was $148.99, putting me at an average cost of $21.28. So let's quickly go through. I feel like this video is getting really long, so I'm going to try and be quick. The Tarte Shape Tape finally finished off. Didn't like this, wouldn't repurchase. Ulta Beauty Full Coverage, I've gone through 3 of these. However, you fly through this because there's so little product. I think there's better concealers on the market. Like any drugstore concealer, there's a lot of good drugstore concealers out there. I would just recommend like the Milani. I wouldn't repurchase that one anymore. The Jouer, I feel like I flew through this. I liked this one and would consider repurchasing this one again, but I feel like I flew through this one. So I don't know. I do kind of miss this one though. That would be a repurchase. This one I do miss. Even though I like my Kosas just a little bit more than the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion, I think the two are really similar. I miss having this. I think because I love my shade match on this one. I have the shade 1N. So this is something that I do plan to repurchase in the future. I just want to finish up a couple of my other concealers that I won't replace, but I definitely would repurchase that. The Flower Beauty concealer wasn't a fan of. I felt like this burned my under eyes, and the doe foot was like so pointed that it would like scrape underneath your eyeball. So I wasn't a huge fan of this. And then I also wasn't a huge fan of the Josie Maron Vibrancy concealer. So this would not be a repurchase either. I thought I used up the Smashbox 24-hour concealer. I don't know where it is, but thought I used that up too. I did use up the Smashbox 24-hour. Wouldn't recommend, wouldn't repurchase. Goodbye. Oh, I just found this little Benefit Professional I also used up. Very mini little, hate, one of the worst primers in my opinion. Wouldn't recommend a repurchase. All right, you guys, we're kind of nearing the end. On to mascara. I used up 14 mascaras for a total of $162.98. Average cost $11.64. Last year I used up 17 mascaras, so I did use up 3 less mascaras this year. I'm just gonna run through these so quickly. Ones that I wouldn't repurchase, the Tarte Gifted, didn't think was that good. Butter London Power Up was okay, but wouldn't repurchase. Ciate London Wonder Wand, wasn't that big of a fan of. Smashbox Full Exposure Mascara, really did not enjoy. Tarte's Pro, not a huge fan of that. The Tarte Surfer Curl was okay, but wouldn't repurchase. And then the Too Faced Damn Girl was fine, but not something I would repurchase. It was a very clumpy formula, like everyone says. My favorite mascara discover of this year was the Ilia Beauty Limitless Mascara. This is a phenomenal mascara. Highly recommend. I went through many. This is something I will absolutely own in the future. This is by far my favorite mascara I think I've ever tried. And then with that, I also, you guys know, I've mentioned this many times on my past, I love the NARS Climax Mascara as well as the Milk Kush Mascara. These three are like the perfect trifecta. I also finished up the Wander Beauty Unlashed Mascara. I think Wander Beauty makes really good mascaras. I also have their Mile High Club Mascara, which I think is really good. And then, ooh, the CoverGirl Exhibitionist Mascara. I was not a fan like everyone else. This is like an overhyped product in my opinion. It's fine, but not a favorite. And then I also really enjoyed the e.l.f. Keep Your Curl Mascara. This is a tubing mascara. This will not budge. So if you have issues with transfer, highly recommend this one. I absolutely will repurchase. I think it's like $4. And then the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black has been a tried and true staple in my collection for years. So absolutely would recommend and would repurchase this one. Let's just get blush out of the way because this one's super easy. I used one blush up, total $9.99. Last year didn't use any blush up. Go me for finishing a blush. And I finished the Flower Beauty Blush Balm in the shade Pinched. This was a very neutral blush shade, so really easy to layer with other blushes, wear on its own, whatever it may be. I really enjoyed this, and actually I kind of miss the blush balm formula. I am going to order the Flower Beauty powder off the Ulta website, and I might order a couple more blush balms because why the heck not? I only used up 2 bronzers this year. Last year I used up 4. My goal is to use up at least a full-size bronzer in the coming year and use up more than 2 bronzers. So I finished up a mini of the Tarte Park Avenue Princess bronzer. This was really beautiful, but I don't think I would repurchase. I just have others that I prefer over this. And then I also finished up the Ulta Beauty Face Sculpting Stick. Wouldn't repurchase just because I have other cream bronzers I prefer over this. I have been loving the Tarte, the blue one, Tarte Sea Breezy. Is that what it is? I love that one. And I also love the Milk Makeup, you guys know that. My total amount used up for bronzer was $24 for an average cost of $12. I know I typically spend more than $12 on bronzer. Lip gloss. I used up 8 lip glosses for a total of $76.25, putting my average cost at $9.53. Last year I only used up 5 glosses, so I did go up in this category, which is really exciting. I used up 2 of the Kopari lip glossies. I love these. I would just recommend the clear. This is a nice nourishing lip gloss, but I just think the clear is the best route to go. I would and will continue to repurchase that. I also finished up 2 Fenty Beauty mini gloss bombs in Hot Chocolate and Fussy. I'm hoping to finish off more mini gloss bombs this year. One of my favorite gloss formulas, you guys know that. I also finished off my Bite Beauty French Press Lip Gloss in Flat White. I actually have a backup of this that I still need to use up. I love this, but you can't get it anymore. I also finished up a mini Dose of Colors lip gloss that I got in a holiday set a couple of years ago. The sticker came off. I don't even know the shade. I finished off a little mini Tower 28 lip jelly. I absolutely love this. And then a little mini of the Urban Decay Hi-Fi Shine lip gloss in SPL, which I think is beautiful, but a little bit gritty and wouldn't repurchase. You guys know I love the Tower 28, would recommend. For lipstick and lip liner, I put these in the same category. I used up 3 for a total of $32.83. Last year I only used up 1 in this category. And this puts my average cost at $10.94. I did finish up the Dose of Colors lip liner. Wouldn't recommend. This was really dry, and the only reason I got through this is because mine kept breaking when I was trying to use it. So like half of my product went to waste. I also finished up the Balm Jour Creamy Lip Stain. I think this is a bomb formula, and I absolutely would purchase more of these. They're so hydrating, and it's like they stain the lips but don't dry the lips out. I love this formula from the Balm. And then I also finished up a mini lipstick from Marc Jacobs in Slow Burn. This took me forever. It was a beautiful shade, but I'm so excited that I finished off another mini lipstick. For eye products, I have 3 for a total of $54.33. $18.11 is the average product cost. I have a mini Stila Glitter and Glow, a large Stila Glitter and Glow. Would not recommend these. They dry out way too quick. The only one I would recommend is Perlina. It's so beautiful. You can top it on any look and it will just amp up a look. But these are not something I will continue to purchase in the future except for Perlina. And I finished an eyeliner off this year. I finished off the Milk Makeup Eyeliner in the shade Bonus. There's not a lot of product in this, so this goes really quickly. I really like the Milk eyeliner formula. I think it's really nice, especially for the waterline. It stays all day, but the Essence eyeliners are $2.99. So you could just buy that. I did finish up 2 brow products for a total of $40. Last year I used up 4 brow products, so we went down in brows. I finished up the Milk Kush Brow Gel, which I do really like, but this is really pigmented, so I could see a lot of people not liking this. I will repurchase this in the future. I just have other brow products to get through before I repurchase. And then from the Brow Gal, I finished up the Instant Brow Hair Tinted Brow Gel. I really like this, but this is harder to get, and it's $22, so I feel like I don't necessarily need it. Like, I can just use the Glossier Boy Brow and be just as happy, so this is not something I would repurchase. If I did not say, my total for this was $40, which would put the average cost at $20 per brow product. Usually I just use a powder in my brows, so there's that. All right, and then we are gonna end with lip balms. I finished up 10 lip balms. You guys know I'm a lip balm loving gal. My total used for lip balms was $156.33, putting me at an average of $15.60. I used up 10 lip balms last year, so exactly the same amount. Let's quickly go through these. I finished up 2 of the Milk Kush lip balms in Bubble and Catatonic. These are fine. I like that they have a bit of a tint to them, but I don't feel like they do anything for nourishing the lips. And I honestly just need a little bit more from my lip balm, so I don't think I would purchase these in the future. I also finished up the Pharmacy Honey Butter lip balm. This retails for $10. Highly recommend. This is so hydrating. This is like chapstick on speed. It's so nice. Definitely will be repurchasing this. Something I wouldn't repurchase is the Tatcha Kissu lip mask. I use this as a lip balm because it had like a little bit of a pink tint to it, so it was really pretty, but it's like glorified Vaseline and not worth the $28 price tag in my opinion. I also don't really love the Drunk Elephant Lippy Balm. It's the size of a glue stick and really hard to use to like be precise on your lips. So I wouldn't repurchase. I also didn't feel like it was super nourishing to the lips. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't think the Fenty Pro Kisser Luscious Lip Balm is all that nourishing to the lips. So I felt like this dried my lips out and I wouldn't repurchase this. I also am not a huge fan of the Ilia Balmy Gloss. I felt like this dried my lips out, so would not purchase that in a full size. Thankfully I got to try that as a tester. I was also really disappointed in the Glow Recipe Lip Pop. This is like an exfoliating lip balm, very gently, lightly exfoliating, but also does not feel nourishing on the lips at all. So wouldn't repurchase that. I finished up a mini Sugar Rosé tinted lip treatment. I do love the I do love the fresh lip treatments, but I really like the original the best. So that's the one I would personally repurchase. And I was a huge fan of the Huda Beauty Silky Lip Balm. Absolutely would repurchase this in a full size. It was so nourishing on the lips. This just like felt like luxury on the lips. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, but I thought that this was really good. Woo! All right, guys, I need a breath. I would have mentioned the drink of the day, but I finished it. It was a Caribou French press, cold press. What do they call them at Caribou? Is it a French press? No, cold press. Cold press with white chocolate. Might need to go get a second re-up of that. It's the 23rd, and when my husband gets home, we have literally all of our Christmas shopping to do tonight. I need to put some lip gloss on at the thought of that. Okay. You guys are probably wondering, girlfriend, how many makeup products did you actually use up? Because it is not our job to be adding along as you go. And I am so stinking excited to say that I used up 104 makeup products this year. I have 104 makeup empties, which just makes me so happy because I know I have a large makeup collection that makes me feel overwhelmed at times. But then when I look at all the stuff that I still actually did use up, I'm like, okay, like, nice job, girl. Like, you definitely don't need to bring in all the makeup that you bring in, but at least you still finish products off. So I'm so excited about that. And then my total dollar value used up this year is $1,877.75. So I did miss the $2,000 mark, but my goal this year was just to use up $1,750. So I exceeded my goal by over $100, which I'm really excited about, meaning next year I'm gonna give myself that lofty goal to do Reverse Rouge twice and use up $2,000 worth of products. That will be the goal. I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like I'm not really close to finishing anything up, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, you guys, that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. I hope this is not over an hour long. Thank you to anyone who stuck around until the very end to watch this video. I would love to hear how many makeup products you finished off this year if you know. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Bye. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. It is going to be my 2021 makeup empties, and I have 114 makeup empties to share with you guys today. So if you are interested and excited about seeing all of the products that I used up throughout my makeup collection in 2021, stay tuned for so you get to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, or you just like to chit chat about makeup. I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Briefly, before we get into the overhead, you guys, I just want to say that I think I counted correctly and I have 114. Hopefully I did not miscount. I will try and include in my overlays off to the side over here the number of products within each category that I used up last year. That's enough rambling for me. Let's get into the empties. All right, you guys, here is an overview of all of my makeup empties kind of spread out on a blanket. There are 114 products to get through today, so I'm super excited about that. My goal was to get to 120 makeup empties by the end of 2021, and I just barely missed that goal, but I'm very confident that next year I can reach my goal of 120 makeup empties, so in 2022, which is currently the year that we're in when you are watching this video. So let's go through all of the products that I finished off in 2021. Okay, starting with the primer category, I have 12 different primers that I finished up in 2021. In 2020, I finished up 25 primers, so I only used up about half of the amount that I used up the prior year. However, in 2020, I had a lot more deluxe size sample primers that I had used up, and I also was bringing primer into my collection at a less frequent rate in 2021. So the primers that I used up, I have the Essence Fresh and Fit Awake Primer. This was okay. I ended up putting this into a lotion and just using it as more of like a moisturizer or like an all over body glow. It wasn't a favorite. I didn't think it made my makeup last longer, and it's not something I would repurchase. I also used up the Tarte Double Duty Base Tape Primer, which I felt was more of a moisturizing primer. Again, not a primer that I feel like I want to run out and go purchase. I have the Glossier Future Dew, which can be used as a skincare item, but I mostly used it kind of as a skincare item and primer. This was nice, but it was a little bit too heavy and not something I would repurchase. I finished up the Touch in Sol No Problem Primer, which also, this is my second jar of this. I would not feel the need to repurchase this. I finished up the Glow Recipe Watermelon Niacinamide Dewdrops. I did enjoy these and would potentially consider purchasing this again in the future, but it's not like an absolute staple in my collection that I want to have at all times. So I haven't repurchased this yet, and I'm not 100% sure I would in the future. I did finish up my First Aid Beauty Pores Be Gone Matte Primer. This is a really nice primer, although it's very comparable to the Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer, which I also finished up. And this one is significantly less of a cost, so I would repurchase this one over this one, although I think both are fantastic primers. And then I did finish up a small sample of a Marc Jacobs primer, which you can't get anymore. Also a mini sample of the Dior Backstage primer, which I actually really liked and would consider purchasing this perhaps during the next Sephora VIB sale. I don't need to add any primers to my collection in the absolute near future, but I really enjoyed this and would actually kind of want to pick this up in a full size. I also used up the Ciate London Watermelon Burst Hydrating Primer. I was not impressed by this. I finished up the Rare Beauty Illuminating Primer. I wasn't a huge fan of this one either. It was nice and I felt like it did do a little bit of gripping, but I did end up mixing this in with a lotion as well and just kind of used it as a body illuminator because I had been preferring more like pore filling primers, which this one really was not. And then finally, I finished up my Urban Decay All Nighter Face Primer. I have the glow version of this still in my collection, and I did think this was a really nice primer. I have recommended this on my channel. I just don't necessarily know that I feel the urgent need to go out and repurchase this because I do still have the e.l.f. Jelly Pop. I have two e.l.f. Jelly Pop primers in my collection right now, which are very comparable as well. So I don't feel the need to repurchase this right now. Next up, we have the powder category. I did finish up 3 powders in 2021, whereas I finished up 5 in 2020. This year I finished up the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush powder, which I believe I'd also finished up the previous year. This is a really nice powder, but it is really similar to the number 7 face primer, and I have some other pressed powders that I like just as much as this one. This one is very expensive and you don't get a lot of product, so I don't think I'll purchase this going forward in the future, although I do still think it's a really nice powder and would not be mad if this made its way into my collection again. And then I also finished up the Bite Beauty Changemaker powder. It's like crazy. I must have finished this up very early on in 2021 because I totally forgot about this and would have thought I finished this up in 2020. Not something I personally would repurchase. I have other pressed powders that I prefer over this one, although I did enjoy using this. And then I finished up 1 loose powder, which was the Glossier Wowder. I have gone through 2 of these now, and I really enjoy this powder. It's really nice and lightweight, but still does a nice job of setting my makeup in place. And I do plan to purchase another one of these in the future. So I only ended up finishing up 6 foundations this year. I finished up 8 last year. And I think the reason is because I purchased so many new skin tints and foundations this year that I just had so many to cycle through. So I finished up the IT Cosmetics CC Illuminating CC cream. I used to love this, but this is something that is just not a favorite anymore. I've gone through multiples of this, but not something I'll repurchase going forward. I also finished up the Dior Forever Face and Body. This wasn't a great shade match for me, which is why I think I didn't love it as much as I could have. I could see myself purchasing this in a different shade this coming spring summer, but I'm not 100% sure on that. There's a lot of product in this, and this took me years to finish this.
I also finished up the Clinique Even Better foundation. This was not a favorite, but I am really enjoying the new one from Clinique. I forget what it's called. It's like a serum foundation and it's super beautiful on the skin. So this one I wouldn't repurchase in the future, but I am loving my new Clinique foundation. I did finish up these 2 deluxe size samples of the Too Faced Born This Way matte foundation, as well as the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. Neither of them are foundations I would repurchase. And then finally, a foundation that I would repurchase is the YSL Touche Eclat Radiance Awakening foundation. I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's definitely a favorite in my collection and something that I do plan to repurchase in the future. I only finished up 2 concealers this year as opposed to the 7 I finished up last year. I must have had a bunch that were close to being finished in 2020, but in 2021 I finished up only the Oma Beauty Stay Woke concealer as well as the Kosas Revealer concealer. Both of these I would consider to be my favorite concealers of all time, like my top 2. The Oma Beauty is a little bit drier and a little bit thicker and more full coverage, whereas the Kosas is a little bit more medium buildable and a little bit more hydrating, but I love both of these and plan to own both of these again in the future. All right, here are the 12 setting sprays that I finished in 2021. In 2020, I finished up 14 sprays, so again, a little bit less in this category this year. Of all of these, the only ones I would consider like a favorite or a repurchase would be the Tower 28 SOS spray, which I actually use more as a skincare spray, but sometimes I'll use this as a makeup prep spray. Also the Milk Hydro Grip I plan to purchase again in the future. I think this is a nice glowy alternative to a product that will still set the makeup but still offer a glow to the skin. And then also the MAC Prep and Prime is always a favorite spray of mine. So these are the 3 that I will repurchase in the future. And then the other 9 that I finished up, I have the Fenty Beauty What It Do, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray, the Too Faced Do You, the Dominique Cosmetics JD Wadey collab, the Innisfree Dewy Glow Mist, the L'Oreal Shake Glow Mist, the Physicians Formula Butter Believe It. This Milani one, actually, I would consider purchasing again in the future as well. I just went through this one pretty quickly. This is the Green Goddess with cannabis and sativa. I liked this as a makeup priming spray, or just a spray that offered like hydration if I was feeling extra dry. I don't feel the immediate urge to go repurchase, but I did enjoy this one. And then I also have this one from D'Alba. It was their first spray serum. Next up, we have the mascara category, and I have 17 mascaras here, which sounds crazy. I will say for mascaras, I usually have like 3 to 4 open at a time, and I'll usually just use them for like 3 months and then like call them empty no matter where they're at. So not all of these are completely empty. You may consider that cheating. That's just how I do my empties. And some of these were older in my collection, so I found that they dried out really quickly, but I still included them in my empties, obviously. For my favorites in what's laid out in front of you, I really did enjoy the Nabla Major Pleasure Mascara. I thought that this one was really, really nice. I also really liked the Urban Decay Lash Freak Mascara. I have a couple more of these currently in my collection, and I think this is a really, really nice mascara. It does take a little bit more effort to use this one, but if you are willing to put in the effort, there is good pay, like, not payback. There's whatever, you know what I mean. And then you guys know I love the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. It's my favorite waterproof mascara. I also enjoy the Wander Beauty Mile High Mascara. I've gone through 2 tubes of this now, but it is more expensive and not something I would just like go out and purchase. Oftentimes I don't purchase any mascara at all because you get mascara for free so frequently. But also I have the DHC Mascara, the Double Decker Mascara from Butter London, this one from Lorac, I don't know if you can even get this anymore, the Royal Treatment, the CoverGirl Lash Blast, the Marc Jacobs At Lashed. I have the Lancome Hypnose Drama as well as the Monsieur Big. I have this one from Grande Cosmetics, their Grande Mascara. I have the, oops, that's a brow product. Okay, whoopsies. I'll put that with my brow stuff. This one from Clinique, their High Impact Mascara. Also the Marc Jacobs, I think this was the Velvet Noir. And then I have the NARS Climax and the Tarte Surfer Curl. Okay, this next category is super exciting. I actually have 3 blushes that I finished up this year. Last year I finished up 1 liquid blush and that was it. So this year I have the Nude Sticks. This is a deluxe size of their dewy, like nudies all over dewy face color in the shade Sweet Peach Peony. I actually really enjoyed this and would consider purchasing this in a full size. I just have a lot of blush right now. So I definitely don't need this until maybe spring, and then still I don't actually need it. Then I have the Hourglass Mood Exposure Mini. This is, it's a waffle pan, and this is completely done. I loved this blush. It was one of my favorites in my collection. But again, I have so much blush, I do not need to repurchase that. And then I also finished up the Tarte Partey blush. That was a free gift or birthday gift many years ago. I will say, as I was using this, it cracked quite a bit. So some of my product just like fell out. This took me forever to get through, as blush often does, but I'm very excited to have 3 blush empties. Next up, I have these 4 random eye products. So I did not finish any eyeshadow primer last year. This year I finished up the Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Eden. This took forever to get through, and it wasn't my favorite. I definitely want to expand my horizons and try some other eyeshadow primers, so I won't be repurchasing that. I also finished up 2 liquid shadows. I believe I finished up like 3 liquid shadow / eye products last year, but I finished up the Natasha Denona Infra Nude like chromium shadow, which was really beautiful. My dog like chewed mine up, but it's empty. And then I also finished up this one from Wander Beauty. It was one of their liquid shadows in the shade Dove Gray. I scraped out what I could, and I'm considering this an empty. I think, yeah, I even took the stopper out of this one. And then this should have been included in brows, so whoopsies. For liquid lipsticks, I didn't finish up any liquid lipsticks last year, but this year I finished up 2. I have the shade Dopey from ColourPop, which I actually thought I had 2 more ColourPop liquid lipsticks, but maybe I don't. They may have gotten lost. Anyway, and then I also have this one from the Balm. I really enjoyed the Balms formula, but I don't know if these still exist. This was really old in my collection, but I'm really excited to have 2 liquid lipstick empties because I rarely reach for liquid lipsticks, so it's really nice to have these done and out of my collection. I also have never finished up a lip liner, and I will say, like, this product kept falling out, so it wasn't like I used up the entire thing, but I used up what I could, and then product just kept falling out of this. This was one of the Kylie Cosmetics lip pencils. It sharpened so much that I don't know what the shade even was, but super exciting to have a lip pencil empty. I have 1 highlighter that I finished up this year. I have never finished up a highlighter to my knowledge. Before, I'm trying to look at last year. Nope, no highlighter empties last year. This was from Say, and it was their Glowy Super Gel in the shade Star Glow. It looks like there's still some on this. This was an airless pump. The packaging was super flawed on this. I hated this product. I did not think it was good at all. I just purchased the mini, and thank goodness, because again, I just was not impressed with this product. I didn't like it as a primer. I didn't like it as a face highlighter, and it was frustrating to use as a body highlighter just because the airless pump rarely worked, but I'm very excited to just be done with this. I have 8 eyeliners this year, whereas last year I think I had 2. A bunch of these are black liquid liners, and I will say many of these were older in my collection, so they just dried out over the course of the year, which is why I have so many. For the actual like pencil type liners that I finished up, I finally finished up this one from Essence. This was in the shade 2 but first Espresso, and it was just a little pencil eyeliner. It took me about 2 years to finish this up. It was $2.99, and it's definitely something I would repurchase in the future. And then I also finished up this one from Milk Makeup. This was in the shade PTO, which was this like holographic purple. You can't twist this up anymore, so I like can't get this product out. So there's a little bit left in the actual packaging, but I'm considering this an empty. So I finished up those 2, and then I also finished up 2 of the Ico liquid liners, 1 in a full size, 1 in a mini. I also have the Kat Von D in Trooper, the tattoo liner, the dagger. Yeah, this is when it was still Kat Von D. These are obviously very, very old. And then I also have the Glossier Pro Tip liquid liner. So all of these are empties. Last year I only had 2 products in the brow category. This year I have 7. I did start using or trying to use up many of my like eyebrow pencils, and I got more into them this year, and it's definitely like a category I'm willing to kind of like purchase and expand my horizons on a little bit more in 2022. But I finished up the Glam Brow from Rodeo. Many of these I got in like subscription boxes. Also the ColourPop Brow Boss. My packaging was flawed on this and it was really annoying to use. From Billion Dollar Brows, I have the Microblade Effect. I have one from Real Her, and then I also have another, I have the Brow Gal Instant Brow Hairs. I finished up a full size of the ABH brow glue, which is my favorite brow glue. I have the one from NYX that I'm currently trying to use up, but after that I would definitely go back to the ABH. And then I also finished up the e.l.f. Wow Brow, which is not my favorite like brow fiber product. I prefer the one from Glossier. I love the Boy Brow. That's like my go-to, so I wouldn't repurchase this one. I have 3 lipsticks this year that I finished up, which is super exciting. Last year I also had 3. I have the Maybelline Baddest Beige, which I do plan to purchase in the future. I don't scrape my products out when I finish. Like I don't care. This is one of my favorite lipsticks of all time, so I definitely would repurchase that. I also finished up a little mini of the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. I did try and scrape this one a little bit, as you can see. And then also from Fenty Beauty, I have the Makeout Break. What did they call these? I can't even remember, but this lipstick formula, and this was really nice. It reminded me a lot of Maybelline Baddest Beige, so I wouldn't repurchase this. I would repurchase the Maybelline one, but I still thought it was a nice product and it was easy for me to use. Okay, and then we're gonna end with my largest accomplishment. So I have lip gloss, lip oil / lip balms laying out in front of me. In these categories, I finished a total of 18 products in 2020. This year, I was heavily focused on this part of my makeup collection, and I'm super proud to say I have 35 empties here. I will say I do have a long commute to work, so I always had lip products with me, and I was like applying lip product like crazy in the car just to keep my lips hydrated. But I'm very, very excited about all of these empties. Obviously, it wasn't like all of these products were full at the beginning of the year. I had obviously made some progress on some of these to be able to empty them off. But let's start with these. So from Tower 28, I finished up 5 of their lip jellies. I do love the Tower 28 lip jelly formula, and I would absolutely purchase Chill again. This is just a clear. I actually have this in my collection again. I also really liked their Milky line, and this shade in the shade Oat was one of my favorites. I also finished up XOXO Fire and Coconut. So those are my Tower 28 lip jellies. I finished up these 2 lip oils from Jaclyn Cosmetics, which I enjoyed, but they weren't my favorite, so I wouldn't repurchase. I totally expected to see more Fenty Gloss Bombs. Like, I swear I finished off more than just 4 minis this year, but I was focused on these throughout the course of my Partners in Cream Project Pan, and I was able to finish up 4 of the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bombs in the mini size. I have Hot Chocolate, Taffy Teas, Confetti, and Ruby Milk. I have 2 of the Maybelline Lifter Glosses. I do really enjoy this formula. Moon is my favorite shade so far. I have a couple more of these currently in my collection that I would want to finish up, but then I would repurchase Moon. I also finished up Topaz, which was fine, but not a favorite shade for me. From Kosas, I finished up 2 of their lip oils. I finished up the shade Malibu as well as Dip. I do have Malibu, I think, in my collection again. It came in a set, and then I also still have the shade Jaws, which I love. I do really enjoy this formula, although I do think it is a little bit overpriced. I have 3 of the Kopari lip glossies, another formula that I love and will continue to repurchase and have in my collection. I purchased a 3-pack for the summer, and actually I would have a 4th empty, but I lost that empty before I could include it in my empties, so I'm not including it as a counted item, even though I know that product was literally empty when I was ready to, like, when I lost it is what I'm trying to say. So I have Watermelon, Pineapple, and Birthday Suit. I like Birthday Suit because it had like this nude sheen to it, which was really beautiful, but I also just like, I just love the Kopari lip glossy. I like the original. That's clear. It's super nourishing on the lips, and I think I might need to go order one from Ulta right after filming this video. I have the Clarins lip oil in the shade 4 Candy. I love this lip oil formula. 100% will repurchase this in the future. And then for the rest, I have the Dose of Colors lip gloss. I want to say this was on the shade, this was the shade On Repeat. I'm not 100% certain of that. This lasted me forever. I don't feel like I would repurchase because it's a little bit sticky and I have other formulas I prefer, but I do have some other Joseph Colors glosses to get through. I also finished up, I think this was a ColourPop one in the shade Smirk. The packaging has completely worn off. I also finished off the Marc Jacobs Sugar Sugar lip gloss. This is no longer available. Also their lipstick lip glossy in the shade Mocha Chocolate Latte. The Merit lip oil I finished up. I took the stopper out and scraped everything I could get out of this. I do not think this is good formula. I don't feel like it's hydrating on the lips, and it is definitely not worth the price. I have this Givenchy lip balm. I also have the honey butter from Pharmacy, which I enjoy, but I prefer a lip oil. I finished up this mini of the Hourglass Sublime lip gloss, which I enjoyed but wouldn't purchase in a full size. I think it's overpriced. I have the NARS lip oil in the shade Orgasm. I actually do really enjoy the NARS lip oils and have repurchased full sizes of this. I have a couple in my collection, I believe. I also really enjoyed the Cab lip oil. This is something I also would repurchase, but I just have so many products to get through right now. I don't need to do it right away. I have this one from Lila B. This is in the shade Be Elegant. I do really enjoy the Lila B lip oil formula, although I do think it is a little bit overpriced. I have this little mini Joseph Colors lip gloss that came in a holiday set a long time ago. I have the Tarte H2O gloss. This is really sticky and I did not enjoy this. I have this Macy and Mia that I got in some sort of subscription box that I finished up. I have this little mini Rare Beauty lip gloss. I have a full size in this. And then finally, the last empty is this NARS chapstick sort of product. What do they call this? The Afterglow lip balm. And I tried to scrape this, but it is what it is. Didn't love this. I prefer the NARS lip oil, so wouldn't repurchase this. All right, you guys, that is it. Those are the 114 makeup empties that I had for 2021. I would love to know in the comments below what products you finished up this year. How many products did you finish up this year? And I'm super excited to start my 2022 journey and start emptying out as many makeup products as I can for this year. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.
Welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video. It is going to be all of my 2022 makeup empties. I have 77 makeup empties that I finished off in the year of 2022 that I will be sharing with you overhead style today. A little bit disappointing compared to the last 2 years. So in 2020, I finished 104 makeup products, and in 2021, I finished 108 makeup products. At least that's what I have according to my spreadsheets. I swear I'd finished off, like, I feel like my number was higher last year, but I could be wrong. And I'm just going by what's on my spreadsheet and what information I have. But I finished off 77 makeup products this year, which I am still really proud of, still really happy with. I am hoping in 2023 I can cross that 100 product threshold again, and that is going to be by hopefully bringing in significantly less makeup into my collection this year and just using what I already have. I sound like a broken record at this point, but I did not wear makeup nearly as much in 2022 I did the previous 2 years, so that's part of it. And I've already worn makeup so much in the beginning of 2023, so I'm super excited to share my empties with you guys. It'll be overhead style, like I said. I do have a video that I am planning where I'm reflecting on the last 3 years and my makeup consumption. So in that video, I will share empties per category and compare the 3 years. So keep an eye out for that video. But if you're interested in seeing the makeup products that I personally have finished off in 2022, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's get into my 2022 makeup empties.
All right, you guys, here are all 77 of my makeup empties all laid out. Looking over my empties, it's crazy. It reminds me of how long of a year 2022 personally felt for me. Like, looking at some of these empties, I'm like, I
do not remember finishing that this year. That literally feels like years ago that I finished that. And then looking at this, some of the categories that like mascara kind of surprised me. I feel like in years past I've finished so many more mascaras, but then I look at all my setting sprays and I'm like, dang, I went through a lot of setting spray this year. But this is an overview of all of my empties, and we will go through everything one by one. So we can start with the foundation. So I did end up finishing 7 foundations this year. I did finish the Dior Forever Skin Glow. I do want to buy this again, but I'm just slightly nervous that it is going to be not the same, not as good. The new formula isn't going to be as good. I also have the Pat McGrath Sublime Foundation, or Sublime Perfection Foundation. This, not a favorite of mine. So happy that I emptied this out, spent so much money on it, and didn't love this one. By the way, I'm in the process of both dyeing my hair, so if you're noticing like this weird coloring, and then also self-tanning, so ignore, there's more hair dye. Ignore all that. I have the Tarte Maracuja Tinted Hydrator. This was a product I really loved in 2020, but very happy to have finished this year. I also purchased the Tarte C Hydroflex foundation in 2020, or the serum foundation in 2020, and finished this year. Very happy about that. The Herborian CC cream, definitely a favorite and something that I do plan to purchase again at some point this year as we get closer probably to the spring and summer, just because it's a product that I use more spring summer, but it's such a perfect no makeup foundation, or like CC cream, that's just going to even your skin out, and it's so beautiful. Definitely a favorite of mine. When the heck did I finish my L'Oreal Pro Glow? I like can't remember. Like, it feels like years ago that I finished my last L'Oreal Pro Glow. I was like, what? But I guess I finished this off. I've gone through like at least 6 of these. This used to be an absolute favorite of mine. Haven't repurchased it. I have so many other foundations. I do still think this is a great one from the drugstore, but I don't see myself repurchasing it, at least in the near future. And then I also finished up the Too Faced Peach Perfect foundation. This is almost double the size of a regular foundation. There was like 1.6 ounces of product in this. It was definitely getting old, and I'm very happy that I was able to finish this off. Next up, we can just move right into these 4 liquid liners. I finished 4 liquid liners this year. I have the NYX Epic Ink. I have another one of these already in my collection. I really like this. A really good drugstore liquid liner, or even like drugstore or high-end. I love the NYX one. I have this one, which I believe was from Josephine. All of the lettering has worn off. I also have the Urban Decay Perversion, which I really liked, but I feel like this one dried up so quickly that I would not purchase this again. And then I also have the Ciate London Fierce Flicks, which was also good, but I just think the NYX Epic Ink is such a good one at a drugstore price, so I'd rather just purchase that. It works just fine. Does everything I need my black liquid liner to do. So I have 10 empty mascaras. Mascara is a product that I like to, I typically have 3 to 4 mascaras open at a time. I like to cocktail my mascaras and use multiple mascaras in like one makeup session, if you will, so that I can get some mascaras I like better for length, some I like better for lash or for volume, some I like better on my lower lash line, etc. But typically I have much more than 10 mascaras, and no matter what, when a mascara reaches the 4-month mark for me, I just count it as an empty. But I do have 2 of the Maybelline Sky High mascaras. I do really like this mascara for length. I think it is such a good one for length. It also does a really nice job of separating the lashes, and I really enjoyed this. I'm going to be on a mascara no-buy again in 2023 just because I have so many mascaras. You're always getting free mascara, so I just don't feel like I need to be buying mascara. But I do like that one. I also have the e.l.f., 2 of the e.l.f. Big Moods. They actually sent both of these to me, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This one has a really big wand on it. And it's just really nice for getting a lot of volume. I really enjoyed this, and I typically actually mix this with the Lash Sensational, but really enjoyed this one from e.l.f. A really good drugstore mascara in my opinion. I finished the Fenty Beauty mascara. I forget what they call it. The Full Frontal Mascara. I was not a huge fan of this one. This one's doe foot is really interesting. I don't know why I'm calling the wand of a mascara doe foot, but the wand on this one is just really interesting. I didn't love this one. I felt like it transferred on me, and it just was not a favorite. Same thing goes for the Milk Rise Mascara. This one transferred so badly that I could not even get myself to use this for 4 months.
It's like pretty much dried out too. This just transferred so badly. Such a bad mascara, and I actually love the regular Milk mascara, so that was a disappointment. I also have the Essence Bye Bye Panda Eyes. This was fine. I believe this is a tubing mascara if I'm not mistaken. I just did not feel like, so in terms of like waterproof, I felt like this was a great one, but I didn't really feel like this did much for length, volume, or separating my lashes, so it just didn't turn into a favorite. We all know I love the Ilia Limitless mascara. This is like my all-time favorite mascara. I think this is the trifecta of mascaras. It does lengthen my lashes, volumize them, and separate them so nicely. So love the Ilia one. I don't remember the Hourglass Unlocked mascara at all. I feel like this is something that I finished earlier this year, and I I have no recollection of how I felt about this one. So I think I liked it. And then I have this one from Merit, which I actually really liked this one, but I felt like mine dried out rather quickly. I really liked the wand, it's just kind of basic and simple, but I felt like this one did a lot for length and separation. It was just a nice mascara, not something I personally would repurchase because Merit is more expensive, and I just feel like you can find really great mascaras at the drugstore, and you also just get free mascara all the time. But those were the 10 mascaras I finished in 2022. Moving up, we have one liquid eyeshadow that I finished this year. This was Stila Perlina. This was really beautiful. I did purchase 2 other Stila liquid shadows this year. Wanderlust is one of them, and Kitten something, not Kitten Karma, it's like a different kitten. I also purchased this year, and I've actually really been enjoying them. Although these dry up so quickly, this one dried out, and I ended up having to use a glitter glue and kind of just use it as like a glitter towards the end. But I am really happy that I was able to finish this off and get my money's worth out of it. I have these 2 eyeshadow primers. So I have the Too Faced glitter glue. This is by far the most superior glitter glue I've ever tried. And I will forever repurchase this when I finish the one that I'm currently using. I have one from NYX, I believe. NYX, yes. And then I also, the Milani one is fine, but I really like this one. I know I'm paying a higher price, but I think it's worth it. And then I also finished up the KVD Shake Primer. Definitely an interesting eyeshadow primer. I don't think this one's going to be for everybody, but I actually really enjoyed it, and it's something I would consider picking up again in the future. I have 4 brow products that I finished this year. I do not remember finishing the Glossier Boy Brow this year. I totally forgot about this. This was a favorite brow product for me for so long, but then I discovered the Undone Beauty like dual brow product that has the tinted fibrous brow gel as well as the brow pen, and I just love that product so much, so that's going to be my forever repurchase. I also really love to start my like eyebrows with a glue of some kind, and I loved the NYX brow glue this year. This is something I definitely will repurchase in the future. Most recently, I've been using the Kosas Air Brow, and I just was not as impressed with that. I don't feel like it does enough to hold my brows in place, so that's not something I would purchase a full size in. And then I did finish up the Fenty Beauty MVP brow, and I actually really liked this brow product. I don't think I would purchase this again just because brow products, brow pencils are so expensive. I feel like I can get something just as good at the drugstore, but I enjoyed using that. I finished up one eyeliner this year, which I also don't remember finishing this, but this is from Milk. It was in the shade Bonus, I believe, or PTO. Bonus. In the shade Bonus, which was a beautiful brown shade. I really enjoyed this, but I feel like the Essence brown eye pencil is $3 and it lasts forever, so I'd rather save my money when I'm purchasing a brown liner and purchase the one from Essence and save my makeup money for other things like eyeshadow palettes. Let's get through my sprays next. I have 10 setting sprays, and I will say I do love a makeup mist. Like, I will bring a mist in my car even, or in my purse, and even if I don't have makeup on, sometimes in the summer I would just mist my face for something refreshing. So these are the 10 mists. I have the Pixie Glow Mist. I've gone through multiple bottles of this. This is really beautiful and glowy. However, it is very easy to go overboard with this one and look too glowy, so take it or leave it. I could see myself purchasing this again in the future, but I feel like I want to try other glow mist for the time being. I also have the e.l.f. Stay All Day Blue Light Micro Fine Setting Mist. This was fine, nothing special in my opinion, wouldn't repurchase it. The MAC Fix Plus will be a forever repurchase. This is my favorite spray for melting my powders, and just even when I try to use something else, it's just, I always come back to the MAC Fix Plus, and it's a favorite. So will continue to repurchase that. I do still have another one going in my collection. I have the Makeup Revolution Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray. Did not love this. I thought it was going to be like a continuous mist, and it wasn't. It also smelled just like hairspray, and this just wasn't for me. I actually really liked this Tulip Dew Mist. I didn't think it made me look super dewy, but this was a continuous mist, and this was such a refreshing mist. This is one that I brought with me in my purse and just loved having this on hand. I don't exactly know where you can purchase this, but if it's not too expensive, and if it was easily accessible, I could see myself actually purchasing this again. This Glossy Box Skincare Hydrating Mist was a fine hydrating mist, but nothing special. I have this one from CoverGirl. This was the Priming Glow Mist, and I actually really did enjoy this. This was super refreshing and did offer a bit of a glow as well. This is something I would repurchase again. It was obviously from the drugstore, being that it's CoverGirl, and I actually really remember enjoying this. I finished this more towards the beginning of the year, but I kind of forgot about this, and now I'm like, shoot, next time I'm at Target, I feel like I should pick this up again because I really did enjoy this one. I have two Tatcha mists. I have the full size, which I splurged on purchase. I do love this mist. I could see myself potentially purchasing again for like special occasions just to have on hand, but it's not something I need to immediately run out and grab. And then my sister gave me this one because she actually does not like the Tatcha Dewy Mist, and I finished this as well. Such a beautiful luminous dewy mist, but so overpriced for what it is. I feel like I just fly through this, but if I was going on like a special vacation, I would buy this because it just does something to give you the most beautiful healthy glow, and I do really love it. I wish I didn't love that one though. And then finally I have the Urban Decay All Nighter Ultra Glow. This was fine. I don't feel like this offered a glow, but it was similar to the Urban Decay All Nighter in that I do feel like it did something to prolong the makeup time, like the wear time of my makeup. So I also really liked the Benefit Professional, and I think I prefer that one now to the Urban Decay All Nighter. So that is the one I will continue to repurchase for a like true hold setting mist, but I finished this one up earlier this year as well. All right, moving on to this side of the counter, let's go through primer. So I actually have 8 primers that I finished up, which I feel like I finished up less, so I'm happy with this. I forgot that I finished up the Urban Decay Ultra Repair Hyaluronic Hydrating Primer this year. I do really like this one. It's a really nice hydrating primer. I love the First Aid Beauty primers. I always recommend them. I could see myself repurchasing this in the future, but I also like testing primers, and sometimes I prefer like a pore filling or gripping primer as opposed to a hydrating primer because I can use a moisturizer as a hydrator. So the jury's out on whether or not I will actually repurchase this, but I do recommend this if you're looking for a great hydrating primer. This combination is my favorite in the summer if I'm not wearing any makeup, but I want to try and match my face to like my self-tanned body. I'll mix in the Tula face filter with the Drunk Elephant De-Bronzy drops. The Tula face filter, it's a primer that has it's almost like a tinted primer, and it just like blurs the skin out, and it's so beautiful. I do want to repurchase this one and will at some point, probably closer to the springtime. I'd like to get through like 1 or 2 primers before repurchasing this, but this is the next primer on my list of primers to repurchase. And then I will purchase the De-Bronzy drops from Drunk Elephant again this summer. Again, love this combo. Such a good combination in the summertime, works so well for me. I finished off the Mini Milk Hydro Grip. Not my favorite gripping primer. It's just a little bit too finicky. I have to let this sit for too long before I can go in with makeup, and then sometimes I still have issues with my makeup laying just right. But the LYS Secure Skin Gripping Primer, I thought I didn't like, and then I panned this year, and I ended up falling in love with this. I believe this is $18 or $20, and if you're looking for a phenomenal gripping primer, this literally feels like glue on the skin, but in the best way to grip your makeup. I highly recommend this one. Definitely will be a repurchase for me. And then I have the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer, by far the best smoothing and pore filling primer I've ever tried or used. When I get through some of my other pore filling primers, this will be my go-to for pore filling. I just feel like there's no need for me to try anything else because this is the best. The Tarte Seed Lotion was fine. I ended up mixing this into a lotion just because I didn't love it as a face
primer, but as a body lotion it worked just fine. And then I finished up this little trial size from Chanel. It's the Lift Creme, and I don't even really remember my thoughts on this, but nevertheless it's an empty. Okay, up here I have the one singular concealer I finished this year. This is the Hourglass Vanish Concealer. Not a repurchase for me. I love the Kosas concealer as well as the LYS concealer. Those two are just phenomenal and will be forever repurchases for me. So I'm trying to get through my concealer collection. I would love to get through some concealer this year. I'm close to finishing one. I'm hoping to have more than one concealer empty in 2023. I feel like concealer takes me forever to get through. So only one concealer empty this year. Also, only one powder empty this year, which I'm a little bit disappointed in. I hope to have maybe at least 2 next year. But this is the Kosas Cloud Set powder. Love this. Beautiful baked powder. Will definitely repurchase this in the future after I get through some of the other powders in my collection. It just blurs the skin out. It's super lightweight. Does a nice job of still setting the makeup in place. Makes the skin still look natural. And I loved this so much. Only one bronzer empty this year, and it was a mini. It was also a cream bronzer. It was the Tarte Sea Breezy bronzer. And I absolutely loved this cream bronzer. Now, I have way too many bronzers in my collection, but if you're looking for a good cream bronzer, this is a little bit more red based. So I think this is best for the summertime. It's going to give you that like sunburned, like tanned skin sort of look, but I loved using this and it took me forever to go through the mini. So I recommend just the mini, especially if you're just looking to try it out or have a really large makeup collection. I have these 4 mini liquid highlights that I finished this year, and I finished all of these except for this one from Illamasqua. These ones from Marc Jacobs I just ended up mixing in with lotion, but nevertheless I have 4 liquid highlighters. Marc Jacobs isn't even, like, you can't get this anymore, and the Illamasqua one was just so strobing and just too much for me. It was beautiful, but not something I need a full size in or feel the need to go out and purchase. I definitely prefer more of a subtle glow, and I have plenty of those in my collection. I finished one lipstick this year. I forgot about finishing this, but then I was like, oh yeah, I do remember how long it took me to finish the Kaja Earhart. Wouldn't repurchase this. This barely lasted, like, it had no staying power on the lips, and Kaja has way better products. I also finished one lip liner this year. Forgot I finished this year as well, but this is the, I literally can't get this on my lips anymore. I can't sharpen it, so if you're looking, you're like, that's not empty. I literally can't sharpen it anymore. It was from Urban Decay in collaboration with Gwen Stefani. I believe it was in the shade Ex-Girlfriend. Such a beautiful Your Lips But Better shade. Super happy that I finished a lip liner. I actually have 3 liquid lipstick empties from this year. I have this NARS Lip Velvet in the shade American Woman. I finished earlier this year. This is such a dry formula. I hated this. I also have this little mini cream lip stain from Sephora that I loved the shade, but also just too dry for me. And then I have from ColourPop the shade Beeper. I did not take the stopper out of this. Is that correct? Yeah, I didn't take the stopper out of this, but I scraped everything I could out. You can see windowing here. This, so old, but I used so much of this that I was like, I'm calling this an empty. And I don't need to take the stopper out because it's going to be too messy, and no thank you. And then to wrap it up, we have lip gloss and lip balm. So I did finish up 7 lip balms. The Chantecaille, way too overpriced for what it is. Then I have 4 of the Fresh Sugar minis. I do really like the Fresh Sugar lip treatments, and I purchased the holiday set last year. So I obviously went through quite a few of these. I live in Minnesota, so it's not hard to go through these. Plus, I just feel like it's such a creamy formula. You just kind of fly through it anyway. And then I have a large Sugar Mint Rush, Fresh Sugar Balm. I do think these are a bit overpriced because you go through them so quickly. So I don't know that I'll continue to repurchase them in the future. If the holiday set were on sale, I would say maybe, because I do really like the treatment. I just think it's a little bit overpriced. And then I finished up this Ilia lip conditioner. This was terrible. A terrible product. I don't feel like this made a difference in, like, conditioning my lips or it made them feel more dry, and it wasn't flattering. So definitely wouldn't repurchase or recommend this product. And then to wrap it up, I have 12 lip glosses that I finished up. I have Rare Beauty, what was this? I have the Rare Beauty Nearly Apricot. I have one other shade that I'm currently getting through, but I would not repurchase this. I do find this formula a little bit annoying on the lips. It's one of those that just feels distracting, and like I constantly need to be like smacking my lips together. The Buxom Lip Shine in Dolly.
I just won't purchase the Buxom lip shines in the future because I am in love with the Lawless Forget the Filler, which is such a better alternative in my opinion for a lip plumping gloss. You guys know my thoughts on the Lawless. I'm not going to go on about it, but I did finish up the original Lawless lip filler, and I have so many others of these in my collection. My sister actually got me the 3-pack, the holiday set, for Christmas, and I'm so excited about it. I also have another Buxom lip shine in the shade Erica. I maybe could have scraped a little bit more on the sides, but I swear I did everything I could to get this out. Very happy to have this done. I have one other Buxom lip shine to get through this year, and then I'm done with the Buxom lip shines. I have this one from Patrick Ta. This was in the shade Is She Younger Than Me? I actually really enjoyed this, but I won't repurchase. This is another lip, so I really liked the shade, but I did find the formula, again, a little bit distracting. It just felt a little bit gritty and not my favorite, but very happy that I finished that off. I have 3 mini Fenty gloss bombs. I still have quite a few gloss bombs in my collection. I did take the stopper out of all of these. This one, it got like pushed in. I think it may have gotten pushed in on this one too. So I've like scraped everything I can out, but I love the Lawless gloss bombs. This one in Sweet Mouth is my favorite shade ever, but I don't need to purchase anymore. I have other gloss bombs still in my collection, but if I got through my entire gloss bomb collection, I would at least have Sweet Mouth in my gloss collection. Kopari lip glossy, you guys know I love. I probably will have a lot of Kopari lip glossy empties at the end of 2023. I feel like I have so many half empty Kopari lip glossies right now. Such a beautiful gloss formula, just so comforting on the lips. An all-time favorite gloss formula of mine. You guys know I've gone through so many of these in the past and will continue to repurchase. I finished the Bite Beauty, whatever this one was. I have one other shade of this that I'm trying to get through, but this actually took me forever to get through. I'm so happy to have this as an empty. I have the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Madeline. A thick sticky formula, won't continue to repurchase that. And then I also have a Jaclyn Cosmetics lip oil. I do have 2 more of these that I recently purchased on sale. I do like this lip oil formula, but I don't think it's worth $20, but then I bought 2 on sale. Nevertheless, those are all of my lip empties and those. And after that, that is my bin of empties, my bin of makeup empties for 2022. I'm so excited already for 2023. This was the first year in a few years that I've had less than 100 makeup empties. I was not doing my makeup nearly as much as usual this past year, but I am really looking forward to 2023 and hoping that I can hit 100 makeup empties this year. I would love to know how many makeup empties you guys had in 2022. What was your most exciting makeup empty? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, thanks so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video.
Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. It's one that I get excited to film every single year, and today we are going to be recapping all of the makeup products that I emptied out and used up in the year of 2023. I will be doing this overhead style, so I just popped on for a quick introduction. I did have my best year of empties ever, which makes me so happy because the year of 2022, I just feel like was not a good makeup use year for me. I feel like I was like questioning whether or not I even really loved makeup anymore in 2022. In 2023, I just feel like re-sparked and reignited my love for makeup, and my empties showed it. So I actually ended up finishing up, prior to this, I think my best makeup empties year was either 104 or 108 empties. I ended up completing 113 makeup products this year. Obviously, that was not all brand new products that I was finishing from start to finish. I've had like a very large makeup collection for 6 or 7 years at this point in time, maybe even more. So some of the products are extremely old in my collection and we're really close to being finished. And I also feel like I have a really good system for like how I try to like work through my products. Like I really do. There's so many lip products in my collection that were so close to being done. So I really tried to heavily focus on those. I don't want anyone out there to think it's like normal to finish 113 makeup products, especially like brand new. They were not. And the other thing I will point out is mascaras, which I haven't quite counted up how many mascaras were empties. If a mascara has reached the 4-month mark, no matter if it's empty or not, I count it as an empty. That is the one product that I'm like, okay, if I've consistently used it the last 4 months, but it's not empty, I'm still not going to be using it because it's so close to the eye. I'm sorry, there's like a plane going by. It's so loud. Because I put it directly on my eyes, I don't want to end up with an eye infection or anything like that, and I do count those products as empties. Now, if I'm really close to finishing up like a lip product, say I have like a fourth of a lip product left and maybe it expired, that is not a product that I would count as an empty, but mascara is the one exception. And I'm also someone who really does like to cocktail my mascaras, so I usually have 3 or 4 mascaras open at a time. So that is like a chunk of my makeup empties, and that just like is what it is. That's how I do things. If that bothers you, I think it's really weird that like you get bothered by how other people count their makeup empties, but I guess to each their own. However you want to count your empties, go for it. But just throwing that out there as a little caveat. And then also just wanted to say, like, it's not like these were 113 brand new makeup products, but I'm very excited to share all of them with you guys. I will also be posting a video sometime in January where I do like a reflection on 2023, talk to you kind of about like what I learned from my makeup rehab series, and then also chat through my makeup empties versus how many makeup products I purchased and brought into my collection throughout each makeup category. So kind of comparing how many foundations did I buy versus how many foundations did I empty, and just like chatting through like the data of that. I love data, I love statistics, so keep an eye out for that if that's something that interests you. Other than that, I'm very excited to get into the empties, so if you're interested, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Okay, you guys, all of my makeup empties are spread out across my desk, and I think it's always fun to reflect back on your empties, because I look at some of these things and I'm like, wow, I thought I finished that literally years ago, and in reality I did not finish it as long ago as I thought. So it's really fun for me, especially to have my lip glosses laid out. I knew I had finished up a lot of lip products this year, but to actually see this like row of so many lip products makes me so happy. I had lip product on my lips at all time this year. But we're gonna go through each category in no particular order other than like what is literally like in the view frame right now. So we'll start with mascara. I know I mentioned in the introduction that no matter what, no matter where the mascara is at, I do call it at 4 months, and I call it an empty. So I was really trying to get through my mascaras this year. I was on a mascara no buy, and I believe I only ended up purchasing one mascara, which was the Tower 28 mascara. So I have these little minis, and these actually like take like in a month, these are dried out because they are so small. It's the Chanel it's the Chanel Le Volume Revolution, and then also just the Gucci mascara as well. These are fine. I would say, I don't even know like what my actual favorite mascara is. Oh, obviously it's the Ilia Limitless Lash, duh. But aside from that, like, I actually don't think I'm too picky with mascara, because I always am cocktailing my mascaras and wearing multiples at a time. So if it doesn't transfer, I make it work. I believe there's 16 total mascaras in here that are empties. I also have the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I have the Lancome Idole mascara. I have this little mini or deluxe size from Dose. It's the Max Lash Volumizing Mascara. I have one of my Ilia Limitless. This was a smaller, it like wasn't their mini, even smaller than that. I'm sure I got this free gift with purchase somehow, some way. I have this one from Blink. This was a terrible mascara. This literally did nothing. Like, I don't understand how this is even like a product that, I don't know if you can still get this, but the fact that it was ever available for purchase, I don't get it. It says it's a tubing mascara, but like it literally did nothing for the lashes. I also have this one from Ilia. It is the other mascara that they have. I don't know what this one's called. I prefer the Limitless, but I still think this one is a good one as well. Ilia makes a good mascara. I also have this one from Urban Decay. It's the Lash Freak. I don't believe that you can get this anymore. I do still have one of these in my collection. I actually really do like this. It's quite a finicky mascara, but once you like learn how to use it, I feel like it makes a big impact in the lashes, so I actually really like that one. I have this one from City Beauty, the Beyond Mascara. I liked this, but this is a rather expensive mascara, so I don't see myself purchasing that in the future. I also have this one from MAC, which I did enjoy. I don't even know what this one is called. Historically, I've been a huge MAC mascara fan. We'll see how much more I can get through my mascara collection this year. Like, it'll be interesting when I actually start, like if I actually start buying mascaras, like what mascaras am I gonna buy? I always just get free gift with purchase mascaras and just use those. This is from another one from Chanel, the La Base mascara. This was a mascara primer. Then I have this one from NARS. This is the Climax Extreme. I actually wasn't a huge fan of that one. And then finally I have this one from Milk Makeup. It's the Kush mascara. I've gone through many Kush mascaras in my lifetime, and I actually do like this formula. I really like the waterproof formula, so maybe one day I'll buy more Milk Kush mascaras. All right, I'm gonna roll over my brow category next, and I just kind of lumped brows all together. I did not realize I had gone through 3 of the NYX micro brow pencils. This is my favorite micro brow pencil just because you can get it at the drugstore. Sorry, are they all NYX? Yeah, they are. You can get it at the drugstore. It's a really fine tip, which I definitely prefer. I liked to trace my brows with the NYX Micro Brow, and then I kind of liked to fill in with the Benefit Goof Proof, which had more of a triangular sort of shape to it, just because it took less time. But this is more expensive, and I don't see myself like going out to purchase Benefit unless it was like on sale again during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, which it probably will be. This Rowan pencil, I swear I finished years ago. I actually really liked this. Really similar to the NYX in that it had a really fine tip. So for that reason, I would just buy the NYX going forward because it's less expensive, but I finished that up. So that is technically 2, 4, 5 brow pencils. Then I have this brow duo from Undone Beauty. I really like this. It has a tinted brow gel on one side, and then it has a brow marker on the other side. I definitely prefer this for the tinted brow gel. The marker does not, like, it dries out really quickly. Then I finally finished up my Huda Beauty Bomb Brows tinted brow gel. This went on forever. This is something I would potentially consider purchasing again, but you can get the Undone Beauty for half the price, and I actually prefer the Undone Beauty tinted brow gel, so I don't know that I actually probably wouldn't repurchase that in the future, but I did like the product. I also finished up a NYX brow glue, which I thought I had finished up a clear version this year as well, but maybe that was last year. And then I also have the Benefit 24-hour brow setter. So basically 2 brow setting products, 2 tinted brow products, or like tinted fibrous brow gels, and then 5 total eyebrow pencils for a total of 9 brow products emptied this year. Moving on to concealers. Concealers was a strong category for empties this year, but I will say, like, this RMS concealer has been in my collection for so long. It already had a huge pan going into this year, and same with these two concealers, excuse me. They were already at least half gone entering the year. So, and then I have my Becca color corrector. I don't currently have a color corrector in my collection, but I would be interested in purchasing another one. Probably not this same product just because it's more expensive and it's more emollient. I would like to potentially try the Sigma one because so many people rave about that one, but you don't get that much product in that from what I've heard. Anyway, the concealers I finished up, the Armani Power Fabric. I don't believe you can get this anymore. I am interested in trying the new concealer that Giorgio Armani came out with, or Armani Beauty came out with this year, but I have other concealers I want to get through. Also the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. I liked this, but I definitely have other concealers I prefer. I like the Natasha Denona one better if I'm looking for a full coverage concealer. This one was pretty full coverage. Nice concealer, but I don't see myself purchasing that again. And then I also finished up the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This was fine. I didn't mind it, but again, I prefer, like, I like the LYS concealer. I like the Tower 28 concealer, so I wouldn't purchase that one again. And then, as I said, I have the RMS Uncover Concealer. Did not like that one at all. And then the Becca Color Corrector, which I've gone through multiple jars of this in the past, but I want to try something new. So 5 concealer products emptied this year. All right, let's move on to this eye base category next, because this is like a lot. I will say I was just about done with the Milk Makeup Hydra Grip eye primer, and actually I use this kind of a lot underneath my eyes, so like hold on to my concealer. I thought this was one of the worst products ever. I spent most of my year using up the NARS Smudge Proof base, and I really enjoyed that. This is something I would consider purchasing again, but I have other products like this currently in my collection I would want to get through first. The NYX Glitter Primer I finished at the very beginning of this year, purchased another one. My packaging broke on this one, so this went much quicker because of that, but I did finish that this year as well. I just realized I'm not facing this the right way. And then I swear I finished this like last year, but I guess I finished this year as well. The Smashbox 24-Hour Photo Finish Eyeshadow Primer. I prefer something with like that's not in a squeeze tube for my eyeshadow primer, so not something I personally would purchase again, but I actually emptied out 5 eyeshadow bases this year, which typically it takes me like, I would say I would go through like a glitter primer and then 1 eyeshadow base. That's like my typical, just to throw it out there. My sister also gave me this one and it was already like opened and used, so this wasn't completely full, but nevertheless 5 eyeshadow bases this year. I just realized I did actually finish 16 mascaras this year. This one had rolled away. Okay, we can move on to sprays next. I love to mist my face. We know this. I talk about it all the time. So actually only having 6 mists here is kind of shocking to me, especially because my sister had given me this Mad Love one and it wasn't totally full, but I finished up this one from Mad Love. This was fine. I don't know where you can really get this, so I don't necessarily know that I would purchase that again. I have this one from Rare Beauty. This was fine. Again, I don't know that I would purchase this again. I think the only high end, and actually I will say I will not spend high-end prices for a makeup mist, just because I think, 1, I like to mist my face, so I kind of overuse it, and 2, I just, at the end of the day, it's like water in a bottle, kind of, not really, but kind of. But usually you can get, like these 2 I've always gotten on sale during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. I do really like the Benefit the Professional, probably even more so than the Urban Decay All Nighter. I had this ABH Dewy Set Mist left over from a subscription box. This was fine. It kind of smelled like coconut, and it did offer a pretty glow to the skin, but this isn't something I would ever really seek out. The MAC Fix Plus is my favorite of all time, especially for like mid makeup application. They almost always have this on sale during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, and I always pick up like 2 at a time. And then I really did enjoy the Revolution Hydrate and Fix Spray for a less expensive option that just made my skin feel hydrated. So I would purchase this one again as well. And those are the 6 empties I had for face mist. Should we go through eyeliners next, just because there's not like a ton, but I actually do have 2 Urban Decay eyeliner empties. This was a mini that was almost gone, and then this one I had been working on since last July, like really aggressively as well. These take forever to get through. I love the Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliner formula. I think it's really good. I currently still have some in my collection in mini shades, so I have those 2. I'm really surprised I only have 1 NYX Epic Ink liner here. This is my favorite liquid liner. I swear I finished more than this, but you know, this makes me happy. I use this just about every day that I do my makeup. I also have the Kaja Wing Stamp. I love this. I do have another one of these open in my collection. This does really help me. It's like a wing stamp on the go. It helps me get my lines, helps me feel more confident doing my winged liner. And then this product is from Bite Beauty. My sister gave this to me and I wish I could still get this. It is a liquid liner, and this I loved even more than I just loved the tip. This was the perfect liquid liner I've ever used. If you have any dupes to this you can recommend, please let me know. I absolutely loved this, and I just wish I could still get this, but obviously I can't. So I have 5 eyeliner empties here. What should we move on to next? Let's talk about powders. I was hoping to have at least 1 more powder empty, but I just have 2 here, and I feel like I used more than 2 powders this year, but I guess it's just the 2. So I have the number 7 Lift and Illuminate. Took me forever to use up these 2 powders, you guys. I'm so close to being done with my Hourglass powder, but it didn't happen, so I wasn't gonna waste it just to have it as an empty. I really enjoy both of these, but I think as of right now, I really do like a baked pressed powder for all over the face. I think I will purchase the Kosas one when I get through some of my other powders, because I do really kind of miss the Kosas airbrush. But 2 powder empties in 2023. I have 4 bronzing product empties, well 3 bronzing, 1 contour. I finally finished up my Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder. Thank goodness this is an empty. I never thought I would see the day, but alas, it is empty. And then this Tower 28 bronzer, I actually ended up using as a body bronzer and really loved it that way. Fell in love with this product that way this year. I actually ended up using the Iconic London liquid bronzer in the same way, just to try and repurpose some of my products that I wasn't loving on the face. I will purchase the Tower 28 bronzer again this year to use it on like my neck and chest. I loved it that much. Kind of gave like a body blur as well. And then I did finish up the e.l.f. Forever Sun-Kissed bronzer. I have not had a powder bronzer since 2021. So this was so exciting that I have a powder bronzer empty. I have quite a few bronzers currently in my collection with pans. So I'm hoping in 2024, I have at least 2 powder bronzer empties, but we'll see. All right, we're almost down to lips. I have a couple more just like random eye products here. So I have 2 eyeshadow singles. I have a ColourPop Super Shock in the shade By the Pound. This took years to finish. And then this was just like a depotted single shade in like a lid setting shade, but nevertheless, I used it all the way up. Also, my Laura Mercier Caviar Stick in the shade Rose Gold, I finally finished up. This was towards the beginning of this year, but I guess I remember finishing this last year or so, I thought, but I didn't. And then I also finished up the Stila Wanderlust Glitter and Glow. So this feels really good for like eyeshadow single products. Like this feels really good to have 4. I don't know that that's ever happened. I have a face palette, you guys. My first ever face palette empty. This was the RCMA Living Luminizer Quad. I guess I could maybe dig a little bit more, but like we're calling this an empty. I absolutely want to repurchase the Champagne Rosé Living Luminizer Highlighter. Such a beautiful cream highlight. Probably my favorite that I've ever used, but I'm so excited that I actually like literally used all 4 shades in this, and this is an empty. And then this took years, but my Becca mini highlight in the shade Rose Quartz, finally an empty. It feels so sad that like this, I feel like I need to keep this little saucer as a memoir or as like a memento. But 1 face palette and then 1 highlighter. I've never had a highlighter empty or a face palette empty, so that is also very exciting. I have 2 blush products. Both are liquid blushes. The Daniel Sandler Watercolor Gel Cheek Color I loved. It was such a beautiful shade. I had it in the shade Nectar. I don't know if this is still available, and it makes me so sad because I actually loved this product. And then I finally, after years of effort, finished up my Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand in the shade Peachgasm. I really enjoyed this, but I don't think I'd purchase it again just because I have so many other cream and liquid blushes in my collection, including Pinkgasm from Charlotte Tilbury. So those 2 are empties. We're gonna end with lips. So I have just foundations and primers left to talk about. I have 2, 4, 6, 8 foundation empties. I feel like I've been more successful in years past This actually like kind of makes me sad. Like I feel like I could have done better. You guys, I swear I finished this like in 2020, but I guess it was this year. The Rare Beauty foundation I finished up. I would be interested to purchase this again in a shade that matches me better. I really actually ended up liking this the more consistently that I used it. I also finished up the Dior Forever foundation. I've gone through multiple jars of this in the past, and I own Dior Forever Glow right now. Love that. I also swear I do not remember finishing ColourPop Pretty Fresh this year, but this, it wasn't my favorite towards the end. You know, I love to test and try new foundations, so this is not something I'll go repurchase. I also didn't love the Kosas Revealer foundation. I don't feel like it had a good like wear time or staying power. And this took me forever to finish. So I'm excited to see that go. Also the Oma Beauty Stay Woke foundation. I've been working on this for quite some time. I like this, but I actually prefer the Oma by Sharon C. I don't know if they make that anymore, but I love that foundation. This one I personally will not repurchase. This is one I may repurchase towards the spring summer. I absolutely loved the Maybelline Perfector 4-in-1. For days that I had like spring summer no makeup, this was one of my favorite products, so I could see myself purchasing that again. Then I also finished up a little mini Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. This was just like a reward like coupon code at Sephora, and I'm glad that I tried this again because I've gone through a full size of this in the past. Didn't love it, was curious if I would love it nowadays, and I'm glad I tried it again because it's just not a favorite for me personally. I know so many people love that one. It's just not my favorite. And then the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude. I have loved this foundation for years and finally finished it up. Not something I think I'll repurchase just because, again, I like to test and try new things. And, you know, this is something I really liked for a couple of years, but I love my Girl On Healthy Glow. I have my NYX dupe to this. I forget what it is now. NYX Glow still to finish up, so I won't be repurchasing this. I don't even know if this is available anymore, but I'm excited that I emptied that this year. So 8 foundations finished this year. That's still really good. We have so many primer empties this year, and primer is easy for me because I wear it every single time I do my makeup, and even if I'm not doing makeup, sometimes I still toss a primer on. That's how I have so many primer empties. I have 10 here, so we can start with the minis first. I have the Mini Ilia True Skin Radiant Priming Serum. This was just a little mini. I've actually gone through a full size of this in the past. Not something I personally would repurchase, but I did enjoy using it. I also have a little mini deluxe size of the Bobbi Brown Face Base. This is something I would consider purchasing again once my primer collection is like really down there, or maybe I only have like one other hydrating primer. This is a really nice hydrating primer, extremely hydrating, and it does offer a bit of a tack to it as well. So I'm glad I got to try this one finally. I have the Tatcha, the Liquid Canvas, Silk Canvas, not a favorite of mine, wouldn't repurchase. First Aid Beauty Coconut Skin Smoothing Priming Moisturizer, all-time favorite primer, but I'm trying to get away from hydrating primers. I just feel like there's other styles of primers that if I'm using a primer, I want. So I don't know if I'll purchase this again, but I've gone through so many of these. So I do love this one, and I do recommend, especially if you like a coconut scent, you like something hydrating, and you like something a little bit glowy. I think this is beautiful. I have 3 e.l.f. primer empties, which also, did we see that the e.l.f. Jelly Pop primer is available again? If you guys are looking for it, I'm considering buying this one again because the e.l.f. primers do offer a really good grip to the skin, and that's really one thing I really value in a primer, and I found that this year. I really like a gripping primer. So I have the e.l.f. Power Grip, which wasn't a favorite, the e.l.f. Mint Melt Cooling Face Primer, which I liked, but my favorite is the e.l.f. Jelly Pop because it does offer a really beautiful dewy glow to the skin, and it offers the grip that the others offer. So if I were to purchase an e.l.f. primer again, I am considering purchasing that again. But finished those off. I also finished up the Urban Decay All Nighter Ultra Glow. I also really like this, but very similar to these e.l.f. primers. So personally, I think just like go for the less expensive option. From Hard Candy, I finished up the Hydrating Primer. This actually does have a good grip to it, and this is something I would consider purchasing again because it's so inexpensive and it really does offer a good grip to your makeup. Plus, it feels hydrating. And then I finally finished up the RMS Beauty Primer. This is the Re-Evolve Radiance Locking Primer. Really beautiful glowy primer, very hydrating, but this is way too expensive for what it is. And again, I'm trying to kind of get away from hydrating primers because I can get hydration out of my skincare collection. So those are the 10 primers I finished this year. All right, we'll finish it off with lips. Let's first talk about the 2 liquid lipsticks I finished. Ofra Burkell, a really beautiful bright red lipstick. Would potentially consider purchasing this again, but I personally prefer the Joseph Colors liquid lipstick formula, and I also have Holy Grail, is it? Or is it? Yeah, Holy Grail from Persona. So I already have a red liquid lipstick. I don't need to go out and repurchase, but this was nice, and just a very little mini. And then I have this one from Joseph Colors, which I've been working on for years, in a Mauve Story. I did take the stopper out of both of these. If I could still purchase this shade, I would. This is like my favorite liquid lipstick of all time. But those 2 are empties. I also have 2 lipstick empties. So I have the Glow Paradise in the shade Beige Eden from L'Oreal. I definitely would consider purchasing this again. I really like L'Oreal lipsticks. And I like this line because it was more of like a satin glossy sort of finish to the lips. Beige Eden was a really beautiful beigey nude shade, which was like a favorite shade of lipstick for me. So would definitely consider purchasing that one again. And then I finished up a little mini in the Tom Ford lipstick in the shade Indian Rose. Really, really beautiful. I also enjoyed using this as a cream blush. I'm so excited to have 2 lipstick empties. Then I have 6 lip balms here. I'm actually surprised it's not more. I have so many like half-used lip balms literally everywhere. I'm from Minnesota, so it gets so dry and cold here, but I have the Lana Lips 101 ointment. This is so good, you guys. I definitely recommend and will likely own this again. I can get through some other lip ointments and lip treatments, lip balms before purchasing again, but I would purchase maybe like a 3-pack. It is so ultra hydrating on the lips. Love that product. I also really like the Fresh Potted lip balms. This was in lemon, super hydrating on the lips. Kind of annoying that it's in pot form, but I do feel like it offers this really nice emollient hydration to the lips. So I like that. I also have this one from Fresh, which this was old, but I think they have now reformulated because I'm currently trying to work my way through a couple other Fresh lip balms, and they're just not as good as they used to be. But I did finish up that many. I also feel like I fly through these Fresh lip balms. The Kosas Sport I've been working on since like 2019 or 2020. So excited to have finally finished that off. Not something I personally would repurchase. I also finished up the Bite Beauty Agave Lip Mask. Obviously you can't get this anymore, but if you could, I would purchase this one as well. Such a good hydrating lip treatment. And then from Tatcha, I have the Kissu Lip Mask. I do not think this is a great product. It's like overpriced Vaseline in my opinion. So not something I personally would repurchase either, but those are my 6 lip balm empties. And then we were gonna finish it off with 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 25 lip balms slash lip oils. So we can start with these 2. We know how much I love Lawless Forget the Filler. This is in the shade Daisy Pink, which was beautiful. And then a shade from the holiday set last year. I own so many Lawless Forget the Fillers. It's one of my absolute favorite lip gloss formulas of all time, so obviously will repurchase and continue to repurchase. Then we have 2 of the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Minis. Love this formula as well. I own so many shades. I've used up so many of these in the past, and it continues to be a favorite gloss formula. I have 2 of the lifter glosses from Maybelline. Love this formula as well. I still own a couple in my collection and will continue to repurchase the lifter gloss as well. There were a couple of shades I wanted to purchase last year during the summertime, and if they are available again this summertime, I will purchase them, but I wanted to get through some of my other older lip products before doing so. But 2 lifter gloss empties. Couple of Kopari Lip Glossy empties as well. Another favorite formula of mine. I've gone through so many of these and I still own so many Kopari Lip Glossies, so we know I love this one. Also love the Tower 28 lip gloss formula, lip jelly formula. I went through the shade Spicy as well as Cashew. These you can fly through. Like, these go really, really quickly. I do really like the formula and will continue to repurchase. They have so many beautiful shades, but these go really quick. I I have a NARS lip lacquer in Santo Domingo. This was sticky. I liked it, but I wouldn't repurchase. I also have a Pat McGrath lipstick in the shade Pale Fire Nectar. I like this, but I don't ever see myself paying full price for a Pat McGrath lip gloss. I think I like my Lawless Forget the Filler or even the lifter glosses much better. I do really like the Kosas lip oils. I think they're a little bit overpriced for what they are, but I did finish up the shade Dip, and I do still own quite a few shades in the Kosas lip oil formula. I finished up the Persona lip gloss in the shade Peach. Not my favorite formula. I think it's a little bit sticky, and it just, the more I used it, the more I was like, ugh, this just really isn't a favorite. The Ofra lip gloss formula is also not a favorite, but I did finish up both that were in my collection in the shades BRB and Pink Panther. I feel like these went really quickly too. Like I feel like once I committed, I went through these really quickly. I have the Bite Beauty lip gloss in the shade Flat White. You can't get any more, but I've gone through 2 of these. I loved the shade that much. It was a really beautiful, cool beige shade. I have a mini Ilia lip balm. Wasn't a huge fan of this. I actually felt like this made my lips feel more dry, so wouldn't purchase that in a full size. I have this one from Dose of Colors, and I also have the shade Can You Not from Dose of Colors. Wouldn't purchase again. I used to really love the shade Can You Not, but I think the Dose of Colors lip gloss formula is a little bit dated. It's definitely really sticky. These lip glosses though, you get so much product and they take for freaking ever to get through. So you definitely get bang for your buck, but not a favorite lip gloss formula for me anymore. Also from Becca, I finished up the Glow Gloss in the shade Malibu Soleil. I do have a couple other Becca glosses still in my collection. These also take a good amount of time to get through. I like the formula. You obviously can't get it anymore though, so. One of the worst lip products of all time. Such a pain to finish this, but I forced myself to, is the REM lip oil. Hate the applicator, hate the product. So bad in my opinion. I finished up this little Buxom mini in the shade Amy. I loved this shade, and I went on to purchase another Buxom gloss because I love the Buxom gloss formula. Really shiny, sparkly, gives a nice full plump effect to the lips, and I'm a huge fan, so. And then the final 2, I have the Jaclyn Cosmetics Lip Oil in Honey Drip. Did we see that Jaclyn Cosmetics is closing its doors? I think this is overpriced for what it is. I probably shouldn't have purchased this. I did get them for like 40% off. I may still have one shade in my collection, but if I do, we'll get through it. And then the NARS Lip Oil in the shade Orgasm X. I like this formula, but I did not like this shade. But regardless, it is now an empty. And those are all 113 makeup empties. I'm so proud looking at this. Like, it feels so good to, like, I know I have a large makeup collection, but to still work so hard to empty out products and not let things just all sit and go to waste. That is gonna wrap it up for today. For sticking around to watch and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I would love to know what products you finished off this year. How many empties did you have? Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!